Mike Minogue and why he thinks he can beat incumbent Governor Healy.
I'm Marjorie Egan. Then national security expert Juliette Kayyem on Trump's big trip to China will help us open the Strait of Hormuz, and a special live music Wednesday performance from Grammy award-winning singer Sonja Tengblad. And we'll end the show with a humble stone fruit, an ode to the mighty mango. Sweet, nutritious, delicious. Jim loves them. Give us a call. It's all ahead on BPR.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. President Trump has arrived in Beijing for a state visit. As NPR's Tamara Keith reports, the welcome he got at the airport is only the beginning.
There was a red carpet rolled up to Air Force One, and a military band started playing as Trump appeared at the top of the stairs. Trump was greeted by the vice president of China and 300 Chinese teens in matching outfits who waved small Chinese and U.S. flags in sync while chanting a welcome to Trump. A much larger ceremony is planned for when Chinese President Xi Jinping welcomes Trump at the Great Hall of the People. Trade is on the agenda for the visit, and to drive that home, Trump was joined on the flight over by NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang and Tesla CEO Elon Musk. Tamara Keith, NPR News, Beijing.
Trump's visit comes after a significant trade war between the countries last year. It hurt American farmers and businesses that import and export. Michigan Republican Congressman John Molinar says he's hoping Trump will be able to improve on trust with China.
My hope is that the president will have the opportunity to talk about opening up markets in China, but recognize we don't want to sell them our best technologies that could be used by their military against our men and women in the armed forces.
He spoke to NPR's Morning Edition. The South Carolina Supreme Court has overturned the murder convictions and the life sentences of former attorney Alec Murdaugh in the deaths of his wife and son. The court ruled unanimously that the local clerk of court egregiously attacked Murdaugh's credibility and defense. Their opinion said this was done outside the presence of the, quote, outstanding trial judge and attorneys on both sides of the case. The Supreme Court granted him a new trial. The Murdaugh murders have drawn international attention, documentaries, and books. President Trump is expected to name David Ventrella as the next acting director of the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, or ICE. NPR's Jimena Bustillo has more.
Ventrella most recently worked for the department overseeing contracts between ICE and various detention facilities. He previously worked for ICE during the Obama and George W. Bush administrations. He left the agency to work for GEO Group, a private prison company that contracts with the federal government for immigration detention. The selection comes as leadership at DHS, led by new Secretary Markwayne Mullin, are looking to shift away from controversial surges of enforcement and build up detention and deportation capacity. Ventrella will inherit a much larger workforce. About 12,000 new employees were added in the last year. And a bigger budget. Congressional Republicans gave ICE $75 billion last summer, about half to spend on detention space. Jimena Bustillo, NPR News, Washington.
You're listening to NPR News from Washington.
Okay, this is the last day of our spring pledge drive. I know you've been very excited about that. Well, it's all over right now. But if you haven't given and you like what you hear here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we ask if you might give us something today. This is our last day. We no longer have any federal funding, so we are ever more dependent on the generosity of people who take the time to listen to us. And as I said before, we are on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have great shows all weekend long. We have great shows morning, evening, and afternoon. And it's not a cheap operation to put on. We get these lovely remarks from people about how they write in and they say, Camille from North Kingston, I love GBH Radio for current affairs. Wait, tell me, Marjorie and Jim, become friends over the years. Thank you, Camille.
Why am I holding this towel if you're not going to mention the towel?
Okay.
I mean, come on.
I was trying to give a little dissertation there about
Look
why
at this.
people...
Look what I'm doing here. I am holding up a towel.
Okay, you're holding up a towel. And I'm holding up the WGBH
That's
dry
called
bag.
the dry
This
bag.
is the dry bag. This
Why
is the
are
one
we
you
holding
take,
this up?
Because this is our gift for today. For $12 a month, $12.50 actually.
There it is. See that?
Yes, it's the GBH dry bag and the GBH beach towel. You always make fun of the dry bag.
No, I don't.
But let me tell you something.
Love
If you go to
that
the
dry
beach in the
bag.
summer, see this thing on the side? You put your phone,
Keeps
you put
it
your
dry.
keys, you put all the stuff in there
Yeah.
that you want to keep dry. But it's
How
more
much is
important
it?
than that, Jim.
What is it?
I just said that. More important than that,
What?
you can see through it, so you
No.
know what is where.
Are you kidding
It's
me?
It's a breakthrough.
That's
$12.50 a month, and we'll thank you with those. Not just one, but
Not one.
both those popular gifts.
Yep.
The dry bag and the GBH dry bag, the GBH beach towel. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. And I said before, if you haven't given before, this is the last day, and we hope, if not $12.50 a month, we take anything. $1, $5, or if you're really loaded, thousands. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. This is BPR and GBH and NEPM, Jim Brady and Marjorie Egan. We are streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Back at the library Friday with Boston artist TT for Live Music Friday. From the Boston Globe, Emily Rooney, the reporter
Emily
with
Sweeney, too.
Emily Sweeney. Whoops, Emily Rooney used to work here. Emily
does.
Sweeney, who is the reporter with the best Boston accent in all of America.
Not to mention being a great reporter.
She's a great reporter, but she's got a great accent. We're dying to talk to her. She's going to be with us for Press Play, talking about doing analysis of the press. And the mayor of Boston, Mayor Wu, will be with us on the 27th of May, also here at the library.
And one of the two Republicans who wants to be the next governor of Massachusetts, Brian Shortsleeve, is going to be here in about 20 or 30 minutes.
That's right.
We'll talk to him as well. By the way, before we start, I'm just looking at CNN behind you.
Yeah.
CNN just releases a poll. 73% of Americans think the economy is doing poorly. Does that mean that 27% think the economy is doing well? Or
Well, I
they just
think
support anything that Trump does?
I think that's Trump's base,
Oh, my
obviously.
God.
Did you see the people that were standing there with the flags?
Yeah.
I mean, on one side of the road, there's like 50 people with little flags. The other side of this road, there's another 50 people just waving flags. Boy, I tell you, thank God we haven't come to that yet, where you have to have all these people lined up waving these little flags as Trump and
That's
Xi
actually
walk
when he
down.
gets home.
Yeah, when he
we're talking
gets
about
home.
China. We'll talk about China later with Juliette Kayyem. We're starting the show with the check-in on the Iran war. On the 73rd day of the conflict, that was the one that was supposed to be over in 4 to 6 weeks, gas prices continue to rise. Iran's military capabilities are holding strong despite what the Trump administration says. And as we just mentioned, Trump is in China trying to woo yet another authoritarian. Before he left for China, he told reporters, by the way, this is not a paraphrase. These are his exact words. You ready?
Yeah.
I don't think about Americans' financial situation, not even a bit. Can I repeat that, please? Here's Donald Trump about to get on the plane to go to China. I don't think about Americans' financial situation, not even a bit. By the way, we pretty much knew that most people understand and support what he's trying to do in Iran, which, by the way, they do not. So the lines are open. Do you think about your financial situation more than the president? The inflation rate has risen to its highest level in 4 years. Gas prices are up more than 50% since the start of this endless war. We wanted to do a check-in with you, get your reaction to the war 10 and a half weeks in. The number's 877-301-8870. Oh, my apologies. I didn't know we have the actual sound. Here's Trump saying what I mentioned to you a minute ago for you cynics who thought I was making it up. Here's Trump.
To what extent are American financial situations motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's all.
By the way, I was unfair. The not even a little bit was not modifying. I don't think about Americans' financial situation. It was in response to the question. My apologies. To what extent are American financial situations motivating you to make a deal with Iran?
And we should point out that under Barack Obama, we did have an agreement with Iran. There were sunsets on the nuclear capabilities. But when Trump tore up the agreement the moment he got into office...
By the way, that's as John Kerry explained to us, while there were sunsets, there were still things that were not part of the deal that would have precluded them from having a nuclear weapon regardless.
What I was going to say is that the moment Trump ripped up the deal is when Iran started their
Yep.
huge climb toward increasing their ability to build a nuclear bomb. The reason we're in the situation that they have so close to a nuclear weapon is because of him in the first place. So the way he, if you hear people say, well, we got to get the nukes, we got to get the nukes. Well, we haven't got any deal to get the nukes, and the reason they were so close to getting the nukes is because he ripped up that deal in the first place.
So here is also, as you've heard the word obliterate about 3 million times. We obliterated all of their military capacity. Well, in fact, according to reporting in the last 2 days, Iran maintains 70% of their pre-war missile stockpile. You don't hear that from Mr. Hegseth in the morning. They have operational missile sites along the Strait of Hormuz. 30 of 33 missile sites are operational. Is that the definition of obliteration as far as you know, Marjorie?
No, and they also have 90% of their underground missile storage and launch facilities. 90%, that's a pretty big number too. And meanwhile, there's also reporting that we have depleted our own munitions, Tomahawk cruise missiles, Patriot interceptor missiles, precision strikes, ground-based missiles. I don't even know what this stuff is, but we've depleted them. And there is some concern about the cost of re-upping those munitions. And also, the president, one of the things that they're supposedly talking about over in China is the president has kind of opened the door to stopping selling weapons to Taiwan. There's a lot of nervousness about what he's going to deal with Xi about Taiwan, and there's concern that if we were to defend Taiwan now, if we did choose to, despite Trump's making these deals, we might not have the capability at this moment because we're so low on our weapons.
One last thing about costs that Marjorie mentioned, like replenishing the munitions. The Democrats, I think rather pathetically, continue to cite admittedly, a horrible cost, financial cost. Forget the horror of losing 13 people who somebody loved in the war. $29 billion, which is a huge amount of money. But as every expert, including the one from the Kennedy School, Linda Bilmes, who was with us maybe a month ago, say, there are all these indirect costs. For example, replacing all the munitions that we have used there.
Right.
Reinforcing all the bases in that part of the world that have been hit that we deny was a problem. On and on. 29 billion, which is huge, is just the tip of an iceberg. So essentially, one, we're not told the truth about anything, which is not a surprise. And two, there is no indication, unless Xi decides to call the leaders of Iran, with whom he's close, and say, please open the strait, that the strait is going to be open anytime soon. So not only are we destroying our own economy, we're destroying the economy of the world.
Well, that's the scariest thing is how we are going to get out of this. I mean, if she does that, that would be a wonderful thing, obviously, because even though it would take a while, at least we'd be back on the road to having the oil deliveries, although I wish we were concentrating more on clean energy. But in any case, we'd have that going. But I don't see how he gets out of this, because he wants to beat Obama on the agreement. He keeps saying we're going to get rid of the nuclear weapon, and they haven't made any move toward that. So I don't see how we get out. That's
well, didn't you listen to Netanyahu in 60 Minutes? How do you get the nuclear weapons? You go in and get them.
Yeah, you go
Why
in
don't you send your children in to go in and get them, Prime Minister? 877-301-8970. Sort of a check-in, 73 days into the 4-week war, at least according to Trump, in Iran. Tim in Northbridge, you're first. Hi. Tim.
I wanted to say, as much as I despise Donald Trump, it is a fact that most of the presidents have zero understanding of how much consumers pay. We saw that way back with Ross Perot. They couldn't tell you how much a gallon of milk was costing. They have no understanding, and they don't care.
So what's your point, that he's not alone in not caring?
Well, besides the fact that he doesn't care, but nobody's forced them to understand. Nobody, there's nobody that is going to say, hey, this is what it really is. He doesn't care one bit.
Well, I think it's fair to say, I agree that a lot of them have been out of touch, but I would say most Republicans and Democratic presidents have at least tried to address affordability issues.
Well, it's what he ran on.
He is, exactly. He's
that's
doing
what he said
exactly
he cared about.
the opposite. And saying, I don't think about Americans' financial situation at all. I mean, he just doesn't Give a damn. Remember when he said groceries? What a unique word. Remember? What a unique word. Tim, we got it. Thank you for the call. We appreciate it. 877-301-8970 is the number.
John Gardner, our Fox News monitor. How are you?
Hey, John. How are you?
Good morning, guys. Thanks for taking the call. I'm well. I hope you guys are too.
We are. Thank you.
Barring, and I didn't say this to Hannah when I was talking to her, barring Z making a big push somehow, some way to put this together, I don't see why Iran is going to play any ball. They're going to just keep screwing around because they got handed the the Strait of Hormuz on a silver platter. And to me, that's such a big, why would they give it up now unless Xi tells them they have to? I mean,
well, for whatever it's what, John, Juliette Kayyem's on it whenever she's on at noon, I think. Yep. Last week, I said the opposite. I said I think a deal is imminent. She, who has far more expertise than me, said exactly what you said. They're in the driver's seat here. Why would they cut a deal unless they get everything they want? And so, unfortunately, it sounds like you're exactly right. They have more power. Keep in mind, the strait was open before we did what we did in Iran, and now the strait is closed.
Well, I think the other thing that you hear these
John, thanks. Good to talk to you.
International experts say is that obviously the people in charge don't care about the Iranian people since they slaughtered about however many you want to say, 10, 20,000, Trump says 40,000, before they took to the streets to protest. And these CIA people are saying that Iran, because they don't really care about the suffering of their people, can withstand 3 to 4 months before they're suffering serious economic conditions that would make them rethink what they're doing.
I know, but Trump often cites the slaughter of average Iranians by the leadership. What is he doing to alleviate that? He's given up on regime change, so...
Well, he's changed his mind, obviously. Yeah. Remember he said, when stand up, stand up, this is the best time you can reclaim your country. And then when they were protesting, before they were protesting, he said that he was going to help them out, and we didn't help them out. He's changed his mind. But I mean, I think that's the thing that's so scary, is that if they can withstand 3 or 4 months of this, then what does this mean about the Strait of Hormuz and the economy, which is hurting people?
Isn't it, but I read a piece the other day, and I'm sorry I don't know the source, but it was a pretty credible one, that, and I buy this, that Trump is bored with this whole thing and is just telling advisors, get it over with. And as you said 5 minutes ago, when it's, quote, gotten over with, the only criterion is he has to marginally be able to credibly say, we got a better deal than Obama.
Right.
I mean, isn't that all that's left?
Well, yeah, but I think it's going to be hard for him to do because he's going to have to give them a lot of money, and I don't know what's going to happen to the Strait of Hormuz, and I don't think they're going to be handing over their nuclear weapons. I mean, I just don't think that's going to happen. I mean, what do I know? But from what I'm reading, it doesn't sound like it. Chris,
Zoe told me, that was in the Atlantic. That's a pretty credible source. Thank you, Zoe.
Chris from Gloucester, thank you for calling.
Hello, Chris.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. I still believe that this war will somehow be used to sabotage the midterms. The longer it goes on, the more I feel that way. The way it could be done was the war is going on, and we get some phony report of impending domestic or terrorist attack during the elections. Trump deploys his newly created National Guard units for election protection, and that's what I'm starting to think is his motivation.
I am embarrassed to say, because I fear what happens in the midterms, as does Marjorie. I hadn't thought about that. And let me add to your list of fears. Did you read this story the other day? That there are a number of candidates for governor in a bunch of critical states in the midterms who are election deniers from 2020 and will be in a position to have great influence over how elections are run in their state in 2026. So there are a lot of concerns.
Gosh, we're in good shape.
Chris, thank you very much for the
I shouldn't be
call.
laughing because it's not funny, but you have to laugh unless otherwise I'd be crying.
The person who I think made the best point about the midterms was Chuck Todd a few months ago.
Yep.
When he said, for there not to be this was all rigged or whatever it was, Democrats have to win by a significant margin. And obviously that was made less likely by the voting rights decision and the decision by the Virginia Supreme Court the other day, which has been appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. But we're going to speak to Andrew Cabral about it tomorrow. I've spoken to almost no good lawyers who have told me that they think the Supreme Court of the United States is even going to take the case. They're going to say there aren't legitimate federal issues. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think
in Virginia, I'm talking about.
One of the hopes is that people there. How many people didn't vote in 2024? Wasn't it like 90 million?
90 million. That's what Andrea says all the
Huge
time,
number of people. That those 90 million people might vote, and maybe those people would
think they're voting.
I don't know, but I would hope that some of them would be upset about what's going on in the country. I mean, but the polls say people are upset. Now, whether that gets into the polls or not, I don't know. Whether they're too intimidated to come to the polls if there's some bogus national emergency claimed, I don't know. Joe G. in Rhode Island.
How do you say your name?
Jogi.
Jogi, welcome to the show. Good to talk to you. Hi.
Well, I'm a frequent listener, and you guys do a great job.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, my comment about the average person, I don't think he cares because he's making so much money. No one has investigated insider trading. He's got this war going, so his buddies and him are probably buying up oil prices, oil stocks. Has anyone investigated what he's doing about that? Insider trading?
Well, I think there's a lot of suspicion about insider trading going on, but a lot of the people that would be looking into these kinds of things, those inspector generals, maybe a lot of them aren't even there anymore. And I think it's clear that Jared Kushner is making a lot of money in the Middle East, and a lot of the Middle Eastern companies, Saudi Arabia, UAE, want this war to continue. They don't want it to end, and I don't know how that affects his judgment in these negotiations. I don't know.
You know, by the way, Jogi, I don't have all the details in front of me, but there's a decent bipartisan group which is rare, obviously, in Washington and Congress, who are focusing on insider trading, which you would think, unless you're personally benefiting, not you, one is personally benefiting, should be a nonpartisan concern. But I don't know. We'll check on that, and we'll get back to you. Keep listening, Jogi. It's good to talk to you. Thanks.
Hexeth was questioned about that.
Yeah.
The idea that his broker was buying certain stocks and implying that there may be some inside information there, but Hexeth said that wasn't true. And there was a run on certain stocks. Was it right before Venezuela? That I think there was a big run.
I can't remember.
Yeah, there was a big run that looked suspicious to people, but as far as I know, nobody's investigating.
So if you're in a close race and you're a Republican running for Congress, and you were asked, Donald Trump said before he boarded Air Force One to China, quote, "I don't think about Americans' financial situation." How do you wriggle out of that? If you are a supporter, if you're a Republican candidate, maybe an incumbent, you support Donald Trump, the President of the United States says, "I don't think about Americans' financial situation." The point being, all I care is about eliminating the nuclear weapon kind of thing. How do you get out of that?
I mean, there've been all sorts of psychoanalysis going on of what's going on with Donald Trump because he knows things are not going well. I mean, people say he doesn't get all the information that he should, but one of the ones that seems persuasive to me is this whole great man theory, that what he really cares about is building the massive ballroom in honor of himself, having his name all over buildings in Washington, having the Arc de Triomphe, or whatever he wants to call it.
Arc de Triomphe.
Yeah, he wants to be able to be remembered, his name to be remembered in Washington, and he's not on the ballot in 2026. Obviously, it's a midterm, and he's not on the ballot in 2028. So,
well, you don't think he's worried that if he loses the House and the Senate, and I have no idea based on recent decisions if he'll do either, that he's worried about what his last 2 years in office?
Well, I think he thinks he's not going to lose because there's going to be some shenanigans involved in the election. That's what I think he thinks. But who knows what he thinks? But he certainly doesn't seem to be too worried about. I mean, he said it this morning. He's not that worried about the finances, and he's doing things that are very odd, like spending all that money to redo the pool in front of the Washington Monument.
Well, you don't think the blue base, like your neighborhood swimming pool? Kevin in Swansea, you have 30 seconds. Take it away.
So considering what the CIA said about the economic 3 to 4 month window, isn't it worth it to completely defeat Iran, bring them to their knees, to prevent them from ever getting a nuclear weapon and stopping them from having control.
How do you do
of the
that?
Strait of Hormuz?
How do you do that? We've been told we obliterated them and their military capacity, and I just read to you stories from the Washington Post and the New York Times suggesting that 30 of their 33 missile sites on the Strait are operative. 70% of their munitions are intact. I mean, what more do we do?
Kevin, I think we've learned it from Vietnam, we learned it from Iraq, Afghanistan, we're learning it now from Ukraine. When people are fighting for their own country, it's an existential kind of thing, and they will fight and fight and fight. It's like we haven't learned that lesson, so we keep doing the same thing over and over again and losing. I mean, I think you could be bombing Iran for the next 6 months, and if they're going to hold on, they're going to hold on.
Kevin, thanks for the call. We're out of time. Our apologies.
Okay. Axios business editor Dan Axios, that's right. Axios business editor Dan Primack is next. We're going to talk to him about money, the economy. I'm Marjorie Regan. He's Jim Brad. This is BPR 89.7 GBH.
It's time to support Boston Public Radio on GBH. Listener contributions pay for the program and keep it on the air. You don't have to give much to make a difference. Please make a difference by giving now at gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424.
By the way, you thought Marjorie loved the Eton emergency crank radio. You don't know Marjorie. No one loves the GBH dry bag this woman. And today, you don't just get the dry bag and the GBH beach towel, which I'll hold up again in a second, for $12.50 a month. You get them both. Did I say that? No, you get them both. Why don't you
Here's a dry bag.
Talk about the virtues of the dry bag?
Well, this is the
what
thing.
What do you do with it?
This summer, when you go to the beach, you can take the GBH dry bag with you. It's a nice free ad for GBH. And you can put all the stuff in it you want to keep dry, like your phone, like your keys, maybe your lipstick or your brush.
Sure.
You don't want to get sand all over your hairbrush. But the beauty of it is, in the back, you can see everything in there so you know what you've got. You can just roll it up.
And if they get wet, which they won't, do you know what you do? You have the towel to dry. Come on.
They're not going to get wet, Jim, because they're in the GBH dry bag. It's very secure in there.
I heard that.
I have used this for the last 3 or 4 summers. I proudly march off to the beach every time I go to the beach with my GBH dry bag, and it's really been a wonderful thing.
Okay, let me tell you something. This is the last day of the pledge drive. And if you've been saying, I am a procrastinator extraordinaire. If you've been saying to yourself, I'm going to give, I'll do it tomorrow, tomorrow is today. It's the last day of the drive. If you can afford the $12.50 a month and like the dry bag and the towel, go do that. If you can't afford that, as Marjorie said earlier, give one time, give $5. Do something to show that the work that our colleagues do on air and behind the scenes matters to you. And obviously it does. You wouldn't be listening. So here's your opportunity to do it. 888-897-9424. gbhnews.org.
You know, a lot of people that donate, they're kind enough to send us some nice messages
they
donate. Here's Joyce from Hopedale. I trust GBH to report accurate, honest news. Love Marjorie and Jim, the garden lady. She's on at 1 o'clock on Saturdays. She has a great show. We had her on CL Fernardi the other day. She's terrific. Takes all your questions. This Old House, I think that comes on at 2 on Saturdays. GBH needs to be around for a long, long time. We have great shows on the weekend. On the Media, one of my favorite shows, talks all about that. So as I said before, we're 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Our number again is 888-897-9424. gbhnews.org is the website where you can give securely. This is the last day of our pledge drive. If you've been thinking about it and you haven't done it yet, we really appreciate however you think you can give. 888-897-9424. gbhnews.org.
I'm Henry Santoro in for Jared Bowen. Today on The Culture Show, Chuck Taylor's, the sneaker that conquered the court, then walked into rock clubs, runways, and red carpets. We'll meet Sam Smallage, Converse's archive manager, who built the company's archive and helps designers look back to move the brand forward. Then New England Conservatory marks NEC Prep's 75th anniversary with concert for the city at the Hat Shell. That's on The Culture Show today at 2 on 89.7 GBH.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And Liberty Mutual Insurance. Liberty exists to help people embrace today and pursue tomorrow. Proud sponsor of GBH's Stories from the Stage celebrates mothers. A live in-person event, Friday, May 15th at 6:30. and Middlebury College in Middlebury, Vermont, dedicated to educating thoughtful, ethical, and globally informed leaders in the liberal arts, preparing them to address the world's most challenging problems. More at middlebury.edu.
Welcome to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. May 27th, Mayor Wu is here with us for an hour, and in about 20 minutes, one of the two Republicans who would like to be your next governor, Brian Shortsleeve, will join us. But right now, we're joined by Dan Primack. He's the business editor at Axios and author of the daily Axios Pro Rata newsletter. Dan, it's good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
So, Dan, we were talking with listeners about the war with Iran. You know, it's dragging. I think we're 73 days in now, and I think people are getting really nervous about how this is going to end and how much longer prices are going to be impacted.
Prices are going to be impacted for a while, even if the war ended today. I mean, these are long supply chains, right? You know, it's not like oil or fertilizer ships through the Strait of Hormuz today and then it's, you know, at the pumps or something tomorrow. It doesn't work like that. And you're already hearing, I think there was a warning today from somebody kind of in the International Energy Committee and actually from Saudi Aramco, which is the big Saudi Arabian oil company, which basically said we're a couple weeks away from being in a situation where the oil prices are going to be impacted through the end of the year and the supply through the end of the year. You obviously have jet fuel issues, not just in Europe, a little bit here as well at this point. And the fertilizer thing is a real issue. When you think about downstream prices, we're actually kind of at the end of planting season in the United States. Fertilizer prices have been really elevated. It's been hard to get. When you go in September and October and start to get groceries, that's when those prices are going to hit. That's already baked in.
When you said we've even felt the impact in the airline industry, you wrote that at least part of the reason why Spirit doesn't exist is fuel prices, right?
I mean, that's what Spirit said, right? And there's been pushback from the White House. Look, Spirit was not a terribly well-run company. There's no doubt about that. So it was a company that was in trouble, and then the fuel prices seemed to be the straw that broke the camel's back.
Are there other airlines that are at risk in this country or around the world?
In this country, not necessarily. Most airlines, including a lot of the European budget airlines, which were kind of the Spirit competitors, did a better job than Spirit in terms of hedging the fuel prices, although you can only do that for so long, and God forbid it happened, but if this continued, you know, for 6 months, 8 months, even those hedges would, you know, at some point run out. It's more really in Europe. You're seeing particularly some of the flag carriers, they might have serious troubles, and there's already some question, will they have to merge? Would the governments in Europe actually take them over? They've not done that in the past. You know, in the U.S., when COVID hit, the U.S. government put a huge amount of money into the domestic airline industry. In Europe, you know, one of the Swiss airlines just went under. The European governments basically told the airlines, fend for yourself.
Really? You know, another thing that's happened, as you were coming here this morning, I'm sure you know, wholesale inflation, 4-year high. Yesterday, I think it was, the Trump's nominee to the Federal Reserve, which sets interest rates, was confirmed. He used to not be a big advocate of dropping interest rates until Donald Trump picked him, and all of a sudden he had an epiphany, and he is now. With inflation continuing to move up, what's going to happen when the Fed meets next time?
What's important to realize about the Fed and the head of it, Kevin Warsh now, going to be Kevin Warsh replacing Jay Powell, still only gets one vote. Now, does he have more influence in the room? Absolutely. But he still only has one vote. So it's and Jay Powell is still there, who also has one vote. So it's going to really be the same group same group with one addition as part of this. It's hard with inflation continuing to go up. It is hard to see rates getting cut right now.
What do you think, Warsh? Forget the final vote. I would assume Trump will try to fire him, even though he probably can't. I mean, if Warsh says we can't drop interest rates whenever the next meeting is he going to say that, or is he going to dance? What does he do?
He probably dances. I mean, look, you know, if you've ever watched a Fed press conference, even if they keep rates steady, the head of the Fed is always very, very careful in whatever they say. And really, you need to be a Fed watcher to have a clue what they're actually saying. Trump won't be able to fire them, though. He's been trying sort of to fire Jay Powell for a while. Warsh is there for the long run. He's going to outlast Trump no matter what.
So, Dan Primack, explain to people why it's a big deal for the Fed to be independent of the president. Why does that matter?
Because you want the Fed to be looking at long-term decisions. You don't want the Fed to raise rates this quarter and then lower them next quarter based on short-term political calculations. Because really what the Fed does impacts all of us in terms of what we pay for mortgages, in terms of what we pay really for everything. And that's kind of the value of it, whereas presidents, like every politician, is much more responsive to what is happening in the moment, particularly if you get closer to an election, whether that be a presidential election or a midterm.
So,
can I just say, if
what?
I had to pick my favorite videos from 2025, in the top 3
Oh.
had to be Trump
Powell.
saying, he's standing there with Powell at the Fed saying, what did he say? You spent an extra $1 billion on so-and-so, and Powell says, no, I didn't. And Trump is ready for him, pulls a piece of paper out of his pocket, hands it to Powell. If you guys haven't seen it, you should. Powell puts on his glasses, look at that, he says, no, we did this last year.
It was the wrong building,
You
too.
added-
Oh, it was the wrong building.
You
That's right.
added a building.
Yeah.
That was a pretty, for a soft-spoken guy
That was
like
great.
Powell, that
and
was
they both
pretty
get the
impressed.
hard hats on, you know, and
It was
Trump's
great.
there. He's about 7 inches taller than Powell, and Powell's totally nonplussed. He just, you added an extra building.
And he's not leaving. A lot of people, and which is unusual, by the way. Usually Fed chairs, when their term runs out, even though they have the right to stay, they usually leave. Alan Greenspan left, Bernanke left. Powell's staying, which seems to be a little bit of a middle finger to the White House.
Yeah, so that's it. A middle finger to the White House.
Seems
That's
to be what
probably
it
why
is.
he's-
I mean, he doesn't need the job.
Yeah, and if because most people would like lower interest rates, so why would it be bad for the American people if force comes in, even though the economic indicators aren't there and lowers interest rates? Why is that bad?
Generally, the idea is that higher interest rates offset inflation. I mean, that's the short thing of it. It's one of the reasons why interest rates rose so much over the last several years, right? We had high inflation. The Fed raised rates to try to lower inflation. That, again, it can get a little bit more complicated. The Fed basically has 2 jobs: deal with inflation, deal with labor. The labor market's very strong, so that's actually a reason. But right now, and with the labor market being strong, that's a reason to kind of offset it. But right now, so long as inflation stays high, and again, because of the war, this isn't, and I know you hear the White House talk about a short-term energy shock, but there are reverberations that are going to continue again, even if the war ended today. I would be very surprised if the Fed acted to lower rates. Given
By the
that.
way, correct me if I'm wrong, even though Trump continues to say the second the war's over, prices are going to plummet, people like Besant and others have said, even if it ended today, probably gas price. Oh, you said that already?
Yeah, including Chris Wright.
I'm sorry.
Including Chris Wright, the energy secretary.
Too, yeah.
No, and they're correct.
So is the rest of the world that is more dependent on oil from that part of the world suffering more than we're suffering here?
Yes, absolutely. Particularly in terms of supply. So our prices are high, but you hear this from the White House. We have plenty of oil. That's true, right? There's no gas stations that are saying we're out. You're starting to see some of that in parts of Europe.
So this may be out of your wheelhouse. If it is, I'm sorry, but I just wonder if we know whether this has been a boon for clean energy, whether people are finally saying maybe I should get heat pumps, solar panels, electric car.
A little bit on the margins, I think.
Not much.
I mean, when it comes to the big renewables investments, which are solar farms and things like that, those are huge long-term investments, right? It's not like someone can just stand up a wind farm today. I mean, think of how long it took us to get wind farms in Massachusetts. So it's a long thing. Are some people on the margins? Yes, although Massachusetts is a tricky thing when it comes to EVs because yes, gas prices are high, electricity prices are through the roof, and to charge an EV, you still got to plug that into your wall. That's crazy expensive here. Unlike a state like California, which actually subsidizes it, we still don't.
Why don't we?
Why are you asking me?
Because you have an EV.
Why don't you ask Brian
I
Shortsleeve
have an
in
EV.
2 minutes
I have
when
an
he
EV
shows up?
too, and it's a fortune to charge it up.
How much does it cost to get a full tank?
Here goes. This is one of these things where Marjorie, like when this old house guy's running, she started asking about ice dams. You knew she had ice dams.
Well,
this means Marjorie's thinking of buying an EV.
I have
Trust
a hybrid.
me.
I have a hybrid at the moment, so I don't have an EV. But
go ahead.
Okay, to get like 300
She's asking
miles.
for a friend.
For a friend, I cannot answer that. All I know is because you can't figure out your electric bill exactly. All I know is my bill went way up when I got an EV.
All right,
can she text you later and find out what it'll cost her if she gets
I'll send her all my bills before and after. She can try to mark it out.
We're talking to Dan Primack from Axios. By the way, can I just say something about Axios for those people who don't subscribe?
It's great. I love it.
For those of you particularly busy people, the genius behind the concept, not just everybody's stuff, is so readable, it's so easily consumable.
You know what it is, Jim?
It's brilliant.
It's bullets.
No, it's brilliant.
Those
it's really brilliant.
And we have an Axios Boston publication, which everybody should get.
Yeah, that's great
and
too.
Who runs it? One of our former colleagues here at GBH. That's right.
That has a lot of bullets too.
It does. We are in favor of those kinds of bullets.
So some people may not be crazy about Mark Zuckerberg anymore. So when I saw this headline about Meta is dying, it's about time, I kind of thought, well, maybe it is. What's the deal?
I read this. So it was an op-ed in New York Times,
New York
right?
Times,
New York Times. I mean, it was the first quarter where their users, the number of active users went down, but it still went down by a little bit. And I think if you do the math, I think they still have over a third of every human being on Earth, and that includes like 2-year-olds. So really, it's got a high percentage of users.
2-year-olds.
So they have they would have to fall way off. And she focuses a lot on Facebook itself, Facebook.com or the big blue app, which matters. But so much of Facebook's business is WhatsApp and Instagram, particularly Instagram. And so is it doing well? Not great, but it's still massive. And the big question for Facebook, or Meta as the company, is it going to succeed in the AI world? Now, if anybody's got Facebook or Instagram, you'll see lots of AI slop goes through those feeds now. But internally, they have not done a great job. They spent an enormous amount of money on a model called Llama, which hasn't really worked. As that op-ed talks about, they've spent another $13 billion to buy a team and plugging way more into it.
But that's a huge deal, isn't it?
It's a huge deal, but Meta is one of the companies that can afford to do it, which matters, right? They can afford these losses.
But how much did they spend on the cockamamie, whatever it was called, metaverse or that absurd?
They spent a lot on that, right? They bought Oculus, which was the VR company. And look, Zuckerberg truly believed that we were going to be having this conversation in the metaverse. He thought kids were going to be doing homework in the metaverse. He was a little bit right in terms of kind of Zoom and video conferencing and how that took off during COVID, but he wasn't right that we were all going to be wearing headsets and feeling like we were in conversation.
I just kind of thought they were fun. I got a chance to try one. You look like you are at the 80th store of a building, and you could look down and then you could fly and all these things. I just thought it'd be kind of a
How
fun.
much did you use it?
Well, I didn't have one. Somebody let me borrow one, and I tried it for like an hour.
Look, and Apple's tried it too, and they spent a lot of money on it. It just has not taken off, in part because they're uncomfortable, literally uncomfortable.
What about the lawsuits? I mean, they just lost a big lawsuit for their bad behavior.
Yeah, and we haven't seen the actual verdict on. We've seen the verdict. We haven't seen the penalties on that. Yeah, look, I mean, Facebook, like all these social media companies, has issues, particularly when it comes to kids. It's not a secret. That lawsuit and the verdict was probably not surprising. They're going to appeal it. Look, every social media company's got these problems, from Facebook to TikTok, et cetera. They've all got these. It was one jury. Let's see a few more.
Well, but aren't there tens of thousands of more cases that have been filed?
Right, but this was the first time that Meta's actually lost one of these. So I think we need to see a kind of preponderance of losses before it becomes more than a one-off.
Okay, before you go, the only thing bigger...
Quick. OnlyFans really quick?
Yeah, bigger than Meta is OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Marjorie says to me this morning, acting as innocent as she can, what exactly is OnlyFans?
Is there a GBH OnlyFans account?
Well, I was a little nervous.
Could you
I didn't
explain
want to get. I mean, everybody tracking everybody else. I thought, should I even click on?
Okay, fine. Explain what it is and say what you wrote.
All right. In short, OnlyFans is porn, but porn that the creators control. But it's like having an Instagram account, but it's mostly adult content. People subscribe. They pay to subscribe to an individual's account, and they can provide either content which is for all of their subscribers, or the way they really make money is they can do private videos, private photos, private chats with people. It's an extraordinarily successful business. I mean, insanely successful. And the margins make even Meta look like a really crappy company. However, the problem for them has been for years is that most investors don't want to touch it, not just because it's porn, but because of concerns about underage porn or content, which has been a thing. They do a very good job, it seems, on verification.
Really?
If you want to open an OnlyFans account, you've got to provide photo ID, et cetera. So they do have that. But yeah, they just sold a 16% stake, and part of the reason for this is their owner died recently. He was only 43 years old, young, lung cancer battle. He had been looking, it's interesting, about a year ago I heard they were looking to sell it, and I couldn't quite understand why, and all I got told was, well, there were family issues. This was the family issue.
There are very few things that have stayed with me from our 27 years on the air, and the one thing that did, what was the name of the guy from the New York Times who ended up being the executive producer of Veep, who was with us years and years ago?
I have no idea.
Butcher of Broadway.
Frank Rich.
Frank Rich wrote a magazine piece about 20 years ago, a New York Times magazine, saying that the amount of money spent on porn then, before the internet was even huge, exceeded the total spent on all professional sports, the movie industry, and television. This is 20 years ago.
Yep.
Do you have any comment on that?
He's not wrong. OnlyFans makes $7 billion, I think, in revenue or something like that. It's extraordinary. And by the way, porn drives the internet, right? For video online started that way. AI, even to a certain extent, was that way.
Thank you.
Dan Primack,
thanks
thank you very much.
Thanks for explaining it to Marjorie, too, by the way. I appreciate that. Thank you, Dan.
Dan Primack is business editor at Axios and editor of the daily Axios Pro
Rata
newsletter. Thank you. Up next, we're going to speak with Brian Shortsleeve, who's a Republican candidate for governor. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy. This is BPR 89.7 GBH, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
Live, local, 5 days a week. Jim Browdy, Marjorie Egan, Boston Public Radio. It's here on GBH Radio because of your support. Now's your chance to keep the conversation going. Give online at gbhnews.org or call 888-897-9424.
Welcome back to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Marjorie Egan and Jim Browder. Joined now live at the library by Brian Shortsleeve. Brian is running for governor, made it onto the ballot at this year's Republican convention in Worcester. The top vote getter at the convention is Mike Minogue. We have invited him onto the show as well. We've had a back and forth with his team, but just to bring you up to speed, last time we heard from him was last Monday, but the invitation remains open. Right now, Brian is with us. He's the former head of the T, which is how we got to know him, under Charlie Baker. As I said, he is running for the nomination to unseat Governor Healy. Brian Shortsleeve, it's great to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be here this morning.
Really
I listened to the show, and it's great to be on.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you being here.
I won't be taking any questions on OnlyFans, by the way.
That's all I got.
That's good.
That's strictly off limits.
Yeah, strictly off limits. Okay, that's a good place to start. So why are you running?
Look, I'm a Marine, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a businessman, I'm a turnaround specialist, and I'm the father of 3 teenage boys. I love Massachusetts. I know we can do better. I want the state to be number one again, number one in jobs, number one in growth, number one in entrepreneurship. And I think it's time we put a businessman in the corner office that's spent his life building companies.
There's another businessman who won the nomination at the convention, Mike Minogue. Why are you preferable to him, Brian Shortsleeve?
We have very different backgrounds. I'm a business builder. I've spent my life building small companies, helping small companies grow and scale. Mike is the CEO of a massive publicly traded healthcare corporation. It's a very different life experience. It's small business versus big-time public company CEO. I'm also the only candidate in this race who's laid out a very clear plan. I've been extremely specific about exactly what I will do to get this state growing again, and we're going to cut taxes. I will sign the income tax rollback. I will strip all of those state-mandated fees out of your utility bill. I will end the tax on tips. I will end the tax on overtime. I will suspend the gas tax. Those are concrete steps we can take immediately to make Massachusetts more affordable and get our private sector growing again. And I'm the only one who's put out a detailed plan.
We'll get to the affordability agenda in a second. Just one last question about Minogue. Obviously, there's been a lot of press about some in the Republican Party saying drop out, clear the field. You barely qualified, but you did qualify. Minogue had a significant margin there. What's your quick response to the dropping out call?
Well, the convention is an insider's game. What matters are 300,000 primary voters on September 1st, which is a combination of independents and Republicans. People want to vote. I talk to voters all the time that are looking forward to a spirited primary, and they want to cast their vote on September 1st. I've also said I will debate Mike Minogue anytime, any place. He has refused to debate. He doesn't want to answer questions. In fact, I think we should have a debate right here on WGBH.
We're happy to have it.
I'm ready
and
to
if
go.
Mr. Minogue is listening, not only would we like to have you here solo, we'd be happy to have you here with Brian Shortsleeve as well. One last thing about Minogue, which I find somewhat curious. You've been outspoken about the fact, and correct me if I'm wrong, which you did not mention here, that you say he's unelectable because he is anti-choice, or whatever you call it, pro-life. Why'd you choose not to mention that here? That's a pretty significant issue, I thought.
Look, I am a principled conservative, I am a fiscal conservative, and I am the electable conservative in this race. I am a pro-choice Republican. I can win statewide. Mike Minogue is anti-choice. He does not support a women's right to choose. He will never win a statewide election in Massachusetts, period.
We're talking to Brian Shortsleeve.
Well, one of the other things that's a big issue in Massachusetts, this isn't particularly a Trump-favorable state. You're a Marine. Honor, integrity, all those values you take with you as a Marine. And I get why people might have voted for Trump in 2016. You voted for him in 2024 after he tried to overthrow the election and brought violent people to the Capitol who left dozens and dozens of police officers hurt and then pardoned them all. So why'd you vote for him in 2024?
Well, I vote as a Marine first and a businessman second, and that means I vote to secure the border, I vote to cut taxes, I vote to deregulate the economy, and I vote to eliminate waste and abuse from government. Those are the things that the Republicans ran on nationally. I voted the Republican ticket. By the way, in this state of Massachusetts, we've got to do the same thing. We've got to do the audit. We've got to strip millions of dollars in waste and abuse out of government. We've got to deregulate, and we have to cut taxes. There's over 100 people a day that are leaving Massachusetts right now. We're 50th out of 50 in private sector job growth, so we need to do those things to get our private sector.
Who won the election, by the way, in 2020?
Joe Biden won the election.
Joe Biden won the election.
Unfortunately, I'll say, but he did
unfortunately.
win.
but the thing with the reason I asked you about the Marine thing is it seems like it's hard to square those kind of values, not to mention the many women who accused him of sexual attacks, the women who...
How about he said about other veterans, from John McCain and others?
They're suckers and losers, and liable in a civil case for a sexual assault, those are kind of hard values to square with what I think of as the Marine values.
Well, look, I'm running for governor. I'm not running for president. My focus is on Maura Healey. I believe that Maura Healey's policies have been a complete failure in Massachusetts. That's, by the way, why she wants to talk about Donald Trump and national issues. What she doesn't want to talk about is how badly things are going in Massachusetts. And by the way, there was a poll out yesterday, I believe, among independent voters, the Mass Inc. poll, that showed her at 28%. We haven't seen a governor poll that poorly among independent voters in 30 years. But I know why. It's not a surprise. I'm traveling all over the state, and people are getting crushed with taxes, crushed with electricity bills, crushed with gas bills, and the economic picture.
I promise you we're going to get to affordability in 30 seconds. Sure. But when you said, I'm not running for whatever you just said about Trump, you can't pretend that his presidency doesn't $3.5 billion a year in Medicaid funding less because of the big, beautiful bill. 300,000 people are estimated to lose health care coverage. So there was another poll the same day you cited on Trump's approval. 36% of Americans approve, 58% disapprove. Which category are you in?
Well, look, Donald Trump is not on the ballot in Massachusetts.
No, but
Maura Healey's failed policies.
Brian, that's not fair. When we talk about Medicaid and everything else that this guy's done, which has an impact here, it's a simple question. Are you in the 36% who approve of what he's doing, or the 58% who disapprove?
Look, there's a variety of policies that come out. Some I approve,
How would
some
you
I
have
don't.
answered that question?
When it comes to Medicaid, that's a program.
How would you have answered the question in the
When it comes to Medicaid,
poll?
just to give you an example, that's
Sure.
a really important program that's designed to protect the most vulnerable among us. That's a program in Massachusetts that is exploding our budget. That's a program that's grown by over 40% in 6 years. So that's an example of enormous growth. My question would be, do we have the correct oversight? Are we auditing eligibility? Are we auditing payers? And is it sustainable? When I'm governor, as an example of Medicaid, I would audit every single part of that program because it is exploding in size. It's crowding out other parts of the budget. And I'm not convinced there's really any oversight. Auditor DiZoglio has done a series of audits on the Mass Health program. And every time she does one, she finds millions of dollars in overpayments. Yeah. So I think we've got to start, as an example there, to make sure that that program is audited, that we verify eligibility, we verify the providers, and we make sure that that program is sustainable for the people
I
who
mean
need
this
it.
respectfully. You don't want to answer whether you approve or disapprove of his presidency in general. Is that fair?
Look, I voted for the Republican ticket. I will continue to vote the Republican ticket.
Well, a lot more than 36%. Okay, fine.
But I'm running for governor.
Yeah. Do me a favor. $5 billion, or give or take a few $100 million, with the question on the November ballot, which you support to reduce the income tax by 1%. You say get rid of the tax on tips, get rid of the gas tax, get rid of the tax on overtime, and there was something else in there too, energy bill mandates, state mandates. What's the total cost to the Commonwealth of that?
Well, I would argue if we get taxes down, we'll start growing again. What's going on in Massachusetts right now is never happened in the history of this state. We've lost 30,000 private sector jobs in 4 years, 50th out of 50, dead last. When Charlie Baker was governor, this state added 250,000 jobs in 8 years. So you cut taxes, you will start growing jobs again.
Maura Healey's first act was to sign what was essentially Charlie Baker's tax cut. He didn't propose a 5 or 6 or 7 billion. And I guess the corollary question is, do you know today, and I know there are months to go, what you would eliminate in state government other than waste and efficiency, because we've heard that since we were all born? What would you do to fill the hole that the removal of those taxes would create?
Well, Maura Healey ran on the largest tax hike in state history. She ran on the surtax. That increased our marginal tax rate by 80%. Most small businesses in Massachusetts pay at the individual rate. I'm a small business guy. I've spent my life with smaller businesses. So we are now in a state where smaller businesses are paying at that 9% rate. When you ask small businesses and big businesses, why are they fleeing Massachusetts? The top two things that come up are taxes and the cost of energy. So when it comes to our budget, our state budget's grown by 50% in the past 6 years. Spending is completely out of control.
What spending are you going to eliminate?
I would go program by program. I would look at Mass Health. I would audit every single line item, every department. By the way, I did this 11 years ago at the T.
I know you did.
stepped into an organization. The first thing we looked at, by the way, was the cell phone bill. We had a $2.3 million Verizon wireless cell phone bill. And I asked the team, when was the last time you did an audit on the cell phone bill? And the answer was, of course, no one's ever looked at it. We did an audit. A third of those phones hadn't been used, seen, or heard from in years. That was the first $1 million we saved. Every single place we looked in that organization, we found waste. We found fraud. We put fraudsters in jail if they broke the law. You got to do that across all of state government because state spending is growing at a rate that far exceeds our economy,
but
our private sector.
On the T, I mean, a lot of us didn't think much of the T for a long time until Phil Eng came along, with all due respect to your tenure there, and he hired back thousands of people because one of the reasons the T was supposedly doing so poorly is because thousands of people lost those jobs. And on the people leaving Massachusetts, it's really upsetting to people who think about what drives the economy in Massachusetts, which is education and medicine. And thousands of those jobs have been lost in education and medicine by Trump's policies. This is really upsetting to people.
They've also been lost in things like manufacturing. For example, Cape Cod potato chips. Cape Cod potato chips moved from Hyannis to North Carolina. And they
took my kids on tours many a time.
You and I, many rainy summer days. It's a great place to visit. But if you look at that as an example, they didn't move from Hyannis to North Carolina because of President Trump. He's president in North Carolina,
too. Yeah, but due respect, Cape Cod potato chips doesn't really, Harvard, Tufts, Brigham and Women's, Mass General. I mean, these are the job providers and the money drivers in
the biggest
state.
Job losses, Marjorie, in Massachusetts in the last 3 years are professional services, technology services, and financial services. That's the job loss. I'm in the technology business. If you look at North Carolina, they've increased their count of technology jobs in the last 4 years by 10%. Massachusetts, we're down 4%. Our private sector is contracting. It's great that we've got hospitals and universities, but we need a private sector economy that grows because the private sector is what pays the bills. And what is happening right now in our private sector is we are at the very bottom. We're 50th out of 50 in the whole country. I'm a business guy. I know what it takes for us to start growing.
Kendall Square has been decimated. That was a huge moneymaker. You're saying that's good? That's Trump too.
I'm saying that what has happened with Healey's policies around higher taxes, more regulation, and extraordinarily high energy bills are driving private sector companies out of Massachusetts. Okay. The cuts we've seen at the federal level that affect Massachusetts when it comes to health care and defense, I oppose those. And by the way, when I'm governor, I will get out of the White House and I will fight for this state. We have a governor in Maura Healey that won't even go to the White House to make the case. I mean, Zoran Mandami, the socialist mayor of New York, has been to the White House twice. Gretchen Whitmer, the Democrat governor of Michigan, has been there 3 times. Guess why? Whitmer's fighting for Michigan. Mandami's fighting for New York. Trump's a deal-oriented guy.
You know who didn't vote for him, by the way? Do you ever hear of Charlie Baker? Your boss? We're talking to Brian Shortsleeve, who is a Republican running for the Republican nomination to oppose Maura Healey.
Let's talk about affordability. You talk about income tax cut, tax on tips, overtime, gas tax and stuff. Big drivers here, rent, cost of housing, cost of childcare. What about those things?
Big issues, big issues. And when you look at the cost of housing in Massachusetts, we have a major supply problem. We need to produce more affordable housing for people. The laws of supplies and demand are undefeated. But here in Boston, the largest real estate investor in Boston, National Realty Trust, front page of the Globe about 2 weeks ago, he said he's exited the Boston market. And you know what he said? It's got nothing to do with interest rates. Interest rates are high everywhere. He's exited the Boston market because of regulations here, and he cited the inclusionary zoning rules, which have bumped up the affordability requirement to 20%, and the stretch code. Those 2 things have added 40% to the build cost.
Stretch code? What's that?
The stretch code is the green energy code.
Oh, okay.
Right, so those 2 things, as he noted, have increased the build cost by about 30 or 40%. If you suspended those things, as Ed Flynn has proposed in the Boston City Council, you could probably see us start building again. But with those sort of regulations in place, independent of interest rates, you're going to see that we're not producing housing because we've put regulations in place that make it more and more expensive to build.
Brian Shortsleeve, the income tax, I'm sure you read the piece that Shirley Leung and John Chester wrote the other day, that according to Administration and Finance, which is sort of the internal fiscal arm of the governor's office, if the income tax is reduced from 5 to 4%, it will also eliminate the state charitable deduction and raise a tax on a piece of the economy I'm sure you care deeply about, S corporations, as much as 33%. So are you okay with those consequences of a vote you're going to take as a citizen?
Well, what we
and you
need
said
is
you'd sign it?
we need leadership. I mean, the state budget in 2022 was $48 billion. It's now 2027. That state budget is $65 billion. We've added $18 billion of state spending. We need a businessman and a turnaround person in there that understands how to get state spending under control. I know I can do it. I mean, when I was at the T, we went through every single part of that organization. You will find in state government with that much growth in the last 3 years that there's a lot of opportunities to take out waste and abuse.
But wait, but you're not answering my question. A vote for the income tax reduction is also a vote to eliminate the state charitable deduction and to raise the tax on S corporations, small corporations. You're comfortable with that?
Under this governor, when I'm governor, I would fight against those things.
Well, if you vote for the ballot question, you're voting for it, not fighting against it. That's the consequence, according to ANF, Administration and Finance, of a yes vote on
Healey's
reducing the income tax.
I mean, Maura Healey has said...
You think they're lying?
Well, Maura Healey has said she does not believe that cutting the state income tax will make Massachusetts more affordable for working families. That's ridiculous. Of course it will make Massachusetts
excuse me. I'm sorry,
more
Brian,
affordable.
that's not my question. Unless you're questioning their research and saying they're being disingenuous, a yes vote, which you are taking, and so far 60% of the people in polls say they do, unless they hear the consequences, would eliminate the charitable deduction and raise the tax on
We don't have to do any of those things.
That's the
What's
consequence
disingenuous,
of law.
though, is to argue that we've got to
disingenuous?
continue to ramp spending at the level we're ramping it. We didn't need to add $18 billion of spending over the last 4 years. That is what has happened in state government. Spending is completely off the rails. You know where it's not going? It's not going back to local aid. The one line item that has not grown under Maura Healey in the last 4 years is local aid, and that's why you're seeing all these Prop 2.
Well, let's stay on that for a second. Wait, but you think you can increase local aid while eliminating $5 billion in income taxes, getting rid of the tax on tips, getting rid of the tax on overtime, and getting rid of the gas tax?
Absolutely.
You're going to have enough money to increase
last
local aid?
week, Healey announced, her administration announced, they found an extra $1 billion in the bottom drawer from the surtax, okay? When I find an extra $1 billion in the bottom drawer, that will go towards local, unrestricted local aid. That's the police department. That's the fire department.
Is that from the surtax?
That, I think, was a combination of capital gains and surtax.
Well, you know the surtax can only go to transportation and education.
Well, that was the intent, but it didn't
It's not
take
the intent.
It didn't
It's in
take
the
long,
language of the constitutional amendment.
except that it's now bailing out the MBTA to the tune of $700 million a year.
That's transportation.
No, but it's supposed to be for capital investments, not to bail out the operating budget. So I think what you're seeing with the surtax, only 2 years into it, is it already is being shifted to fund a bloated operating budget versus capital investment.
All I know is that the people are happier with the T than they've ever been.
Well, the Massink poll yesterday,
makes
which I read with great interest, said 50% of people say the T is about the same as it was 10 years ago. Basically no change. It was interesting to read.
Hey, can I give
we should get to one big thing.
Sure.
Immigration. I know I'm not sure exactly where you are on immigration, but you've been very critical of the governor on immigration. So what's your policy on immigration?
Well, look, I'm a strong supporter of legal immigration. That's always been a huge part of this state, this country. About a third of large public companies are run by immigrant founders or their families, so that's a big part of the American experience.
Yeah.
But I oppose sanctuary state policies. I think sanctuary state policies make us less safe, and I think there's a lot of examples of that. I oppose the PROTECT Act, which recently went through, which would prohibit local law enforcement from cooperating with federal authorities, even for convicted violent criminals. I think that will make us less safe.
We have not been deporting, as you know, the worst of the worst, as the president said. Most of the people are not the worst of the worst. People that came over the border illegally have been here for a long time. Should we be deporting people that have been here 10 years, 20 years? They came over the border illegally, but they've been here. Their families, should we be deporting them?
Nobody wants to see ICE raids on the streets, and I don't want to see those ICE raids. We should be focused on convicted criminals. Okay. That should be the focus.
By the way, the PROTECT Act, with all fairness, does not protect the most serious violent criminals. It does not. We can have a discussion about that. You only have 30 seconds.
Yeah, I just want to be clear on that because that's a big deal. So you would not support to go after people who have come to the country illegally and they've been here?
The focus of ICE should be deporting convicted criminals. And by the way, I believe that our local authorities should be meeting them at the jailhouse door and the courthouse door and working with federal authorities to take those people out. That's our focus.
So Trump's deporting only a few of them. Is mostly he's...
Well, Trump himself has admitted a lot of mistakes were made when it comes to ICE. He's got a new team in place, and I think what
you have 30 seconds. Is this fun?
I love being out there. I love Massachusetts. I've been here all my life. I've built a great business here. I got 3 teenage boys. I want them to come back here after college and build companies and chase their dreams. But I fear if we don't get this state pointed in the right direction, start growing again, they're going to end up in Austin, Texas, or Miami, Florida.
We'll ask them about OnlyFans. No, we won't. I'm only kidding. Brian Shortsleeve, it's great to see you. Hope
Let's
you come
host a
back.
debate. I'll
we
come
are going to
anytime.
invite Mr. Minogue. We have invited him,
No,
and
we're
we'll
all
invite
very
you both
grateful
together, too.
to you for cleaning up the money room in Charlestown. We're all very grateful for that. No more barbecues.
Remember the
in
front
money
page
room.
of the Herald, one of the great photographs of all time.
And
Good to see you,
shorts.
Brian. Take care of yourself.
mess, I think. is what
Okay,
I
we've
call
been
it.
talking
See you later.
with Brian Shortsleeve, who's running as a Republican for governor. Up next, Juliette Kayyem. This is BPR on GBH.
Find that Friday feeling early at GBH Music's Jazz Night, featuring saxophonist Ken Fields with his RSE Trio. Tomorrow at 5:30 at the Boston Public Library. Get a free ticket at wgbh.org/events.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And MIT Sloan Executive Education, offering short courses on critical topics led by world-class faculty. Professionals can get up to speed on AI, innovation, cybersecurity, and operational strategy. More at executive.mit.edu.
And Atlantic Design Center by Eldridge Lumber and Hardware, committed to helping customers achieve their vision for a new kitchen or bathroom and guiding them from design to completion, with showrooms in York and Portland, Maine. AtlanticDesignCTR.com.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
Welcome to hour number 2 of Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH. Jim Brady, Marjorie Egan, streaming on youtube.com/GBH News. A couple of programming notes. We're going to be back here in the library on Friday with Boston artist TT for Live Music Friday. Emily Sweeney, a reporter of the Boston Globe, famous for her wonderful Boston accent. There's
Well,
so few
she's
of them
famous for the quality of her reporting.
Well,
too,
as far as
Margaret.
she's a great
She's
reporter.
viral
but I
because
really
of her.
love New York Times talking about her fabulous accent. We should all be so lucky. Anyway, Mayor Wu will be also with us May 27th here at the library. Hello again, Jim.
And some fabulous music in about 20 minutes. Let me just say, we screwed the people on NEPM again. It was my fault this time. You missed the beginning of the Brian Shortsleeve interview. It will be available in its totality online at gbhnews.org at the end of the show. And I promise you, it's my fault today. Once pledge is over, you will miss nothing more. Our sincere apologies. It's been a nightmare. In any case, we're joined now at the library desk by national security expert Juliette Kayyem, former Assistant Secretary for Homeland Security under Barack Obama, the faculty chair of the Homeland Security Program at the Kennedy School of Government, and CNN's senior national security analyst. Hello, Juliette.
Hello.
Nice
Hi,
to see
everyone.
you.
Thanks for coming out.
So many of us are hopeful that President Trump will be able to persuade Xi of China to exert pressure on Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz so we can try to get things going here in this war. You think that's going to happen?
Do I think that's going to happen? I don't see what China's incentive would be to make that happen easily. I mean, we now know from the intelligence, from the reporting out of the intelligence community, that Iran has a couple more months left in them to withstand any sort of closure of the Straits of Hormuz, and that they have basically regenerated all of their military capacity and continue to be a threat. So the only entity that has a time pressure is the United States. That's because of our economy, and that's because of the midterms coming up and the wildly unpopular nature of this war. So maybe there'll be the promise of a deal, and Trump will come out and say there's a deal, and then Xi will correct it and say there's a discussion of a deal, and then we move forward. But when you think about the timing incentive, Trump is the only one who is losing because of the clock.
What do you mean by that?
In other words, he doesn't. No one else is in a hurry. No one else has a constituency that's against it. She doesn't have a constituency.
Well, all of our former allies in Western Europe have a clock because their economy, as we just discussed with Dan Primack from Axios,
he's not thinking of them. I mean, he's thinking of us. Right. No, they want the deal. As I said last week, if he had a deal, he would take it. He doesn't, and that's because he can't get the Iranians to agree to what he needs them to agree to. This is all on him. And so what this is going to be is the next couple days in China. It's going to be Trump in his comfort space with an authoritarian leader who's going to show him lots of bells and whistles, the Forbidden City, all sorts of stuff. We love Trump, and they're going to play him. We know that is what is about to happen, and they're going to play him on Taiwan. He is going to make statements that are either going to have to be unwound or that are going to make Taiwan very, very vulnerable. That's my prediction, and I'll come back in a week. My prediction is that's how this ends.
Yeah, and that's what they want. There's already been reporting of Trump so-called opening the door to the idea of no longer selling weapons to Taiwan, and that Taiwan is particularly vulnerable now because our weaponry is depleted.
His comment, I saw him on air, or maybe when he was entering the airplane, Air Force One, his comment was, we're a couple thousand miles away from Taiwan. They're 30 miles away. I mean, that's how he thinks of things. And the other data point I have for why this is about to be a sellout of Taiwan is, look who he's traveling with. Who's the first person that's listed on the plane manifest?
Elon Musk.
No.
Who?
NVIDIA? His son.
Oh, his
they
son.
have commercial interest
to
in
make
China.
Money.
Yeah, I mean, they have commercial interest in China, and they are going to probably push commercial interest in Taiwan.
I was
it's
wondering.
His son. Like, we're like so immune to this, but you look at the manifest, there's no China expert, there's no elder statesperson. I mean, of course, Marco Rubio and stuff, but it's the number one person on the manifest is I think it's Eric. I forget which son it is.
But why are all these? I mean, this is a stupid question. I guess it's about money, but it is unusual to have the Elon Musk, the NVIDIA guy, all these people that are big shots.
Well, NVIDIA is not surprising. One of the big asks for China.
And
that's one of the few things we have
that's
is permitting them to get the chips they want for development of AI.
But I guess what I'm wondering is, do they usually fly over with the president on one of these deals?
I was surprised.
I didn't see people GM, back in the day flying over.
Well, when there's these meetings, there are often, sort of secondary meetings where you'd have your cultural leadership, or you might have your business leadership traveling with the president. There's only so they have an AI group going, which sort of represents all the big people from Meta and everywhere else. And I had seen that group that they were attending. That's not uncommon. I was surprised Elon Musk was on the plane, and that may just be, Elon Musk had worked for him, and I guess they're friends. But it is uncommon. But the most uncommon thing is that we're gonna the lead, or at least they're leading with a Trump son as the partner in a discussion with a very sophisticated leader that represents a threat to us and and we're in competition.
So you're saying it's not uncommon that other business tycoons are going. It is unusual that the son is the first on the list. Okay.
By the way, when governors of Massachusetts make trips to other countries, they always have business leaders.
I just didn't know.
Because they want to cut business deals, which I think is totally appropriate. I don't know about the son, because he's a grifter, but in terms of semi-normal business people.
The son is not representing American interests. The son is representing Trump real estate interests, and so
I guess it makes me nervous because I think that that he might do things to sell us out, so these people that he's with can make millions and billions of dollars.
Well, I would be nervous. But that's like, that's a day in the life of. I mean, if you look at what's happening at the Pentagon right now with the sons, I mean, the companies that they're affiliated with are winning no bid contracts for mining, for drones, for
robots.
I mean,
company that's never built a robot.
I had sort of a, I can't prove it. But if you ask sort of like, why is Hegseth so safe? Like, if I'm the FBI director, Kash Patel, I'm clearly nervous about what's next. He just got rid of the FDA head. I mean, he's clearly in a purge thing. Hegseth is safe because someone is authorizing, I don't know if it's him, but someone is authorizing these no-bid multi-gazillion-dollar contracts to companies that have existed for 5 months. One of the companies that the Trump boys are affiliated with got a $100 million, a major contract from the Defense Department based on a demo. A demo. I got a demo. I have a demo. We should make a
paper airplane drone.
Yeah.
And
We
has
only have
demo
a minute
and what-
left before the pledge break, and then we'll continue.
Very
so let me
important.
pose my question in that minute, and then you think about it, not that you need to. Last week, you totally humiliated me when I said on the air, there's going to be a deal, it's imminent, and your basic answer, which every listener agreed with, is what's in it for Iran. They don't need to make a deal. Well, now we've learned since we last saw you that it's even more in your direction, that 30 of the 33 missile sites on the Strait are operative. 70% of their military capacity has not been obliterated, in fact is functional. So I guess the question is, now that you've convinced me that a deal is not imminent, when we come back in a second, my question is, why would this end even in a month or 2 months? This has potential to go on, it seems to me, because of the new information in your argument, for a really long time. So when we get back, you'll regale us
Yes,
with that.
you will. You'll regale us
my
out when we
coffee.
get back. But right
Please do
now,
some thinking,
we are
yes.
taking a very quick break here. This is BPR on GBH, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We are talking with Juliette Kayyem from Harvard, our national security expert. We're going to keep talking to her after this quick pledge break.
Live, local, 5 days a week. Jim Braude, Marjorie Egan, Boston Public Radio. It's here on GBH Radio because of your support. Now's your chance to keep the conversation going. Give online at gbhnews.org or call 888-897-9424.
Okay, this is a very big moment here. This is one of those match deal, Jims. For every dollar you give, a group of generous GBH members will donate an additional $1 to GBH. Right now, it only goes on until 1 o'clock, so that's about 45 minutes from now. So if you give $100, it's $200. $500, you get $1,000. $10 is $20. You get it. So you double the whole thing. It's a great time to give for us and for you. Double your money. It's like one of those coupons you get at CVS or something. And for a sustaining gift of $12.50 a month, which it makes it very easy for our budget people, you can get our great, where did I do with it? Oh, here it is. The great GBH dry bag, which I have used every summer now for 2 or 3 summers. This is great, Juliette. You go to the beach, you're down there, Rhode Island, you go to the beach, you put all the stuff you don't want to get wet in this side packet there. It just keeps it dry, plus you can see it. So your lipstick, your suntan lotion, your phone, your keys, the whole thing, GBH in the front. There it is, right there. That's really good. Isn't
That's
that
not
great?
all. Well, luckily, your mic is not on.
It's terrific.
Now, the other thing.
I was wowing on the gift.
Okay,
on
you can hold
I
your
didn't
wowing.
get one of those.
It's
you
very
should be
useful.
thinking about the answer to my question.
888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
And by the way, Marjorie forgot to say, for $12.50 a month, which becomes $25 a month because of the match, you only do the $12.50 part of it. You not only get the dry bag, which Marjorie
I forgot the
apparently
towel.
uses
The towel.
all the time. I'll
Where's the
hold up
towel?
the towel.
Jim
and
has
you,
a towel.
Let me see the towel.
I'm going to show it to you. Don't
Isn't
worry
it
about
lovely?
Oh, that's one of those
It's called
ring
a towel.
towels.
It's a towel.
What do you? What's it?
It's a towel.
It's a micro towel.
If you
or
get
something
wet,
like that.
you dry
bridge,
yourself.
That's the bridge you come over
Yeah.
there. That's
Bridge.
which bridge is that from Cambridge? It's one of the bridges from
That's
Cambridge.
the salt and pepper.
Salt and pepper
It has
bridge.
a more formal name.
Okay, this is going off the rails. Now, here is the deal. The phone number is 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. Now, Marjorie would like to read some of the incredibly kind things, because she can't find the paper, that people have said when they made donations.
Okay,
Go ahead, Marjorie.
Camilla from North Kingston in
Yeah.
Rhode Island. I love hearing GBH radio for the current affairs, especially Wait, Don't Tell Me. Marjorie and Jim would become like friends over the years. You know, that's one of the things that's important.
What is it?
Radio is very intimate. You know, you feel like you know people that are on the radio. I felt that way before I was on the radio.
Can I
and
just
now
say
here
to
we are.
Camilla, you may think Marjorie's a friend. She is not lending you her dry bag. If you want a dry bag, you buy your own. $12.50 a month.
For the dry bag. It's worth every
Gets
penny.
doubled. It's a match till
That's
just
right.
one.
That's right. Double your money till now.
Yeah.
888 till 1. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Welcome back to BPR and 89.7 GBH. Marjorie Egan, Jim Braude, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We're continuing our discussion with national security expert Juliette Kayyem, who's going to answer my question from 3 minutes ago. Hello, Juliette.
Hello.
What's the answer? Why is this
What
not
was your
going to go
question,
on?
please? Can you repeat it?
In light of the fact that our obliteration is very short of obliteration, why is it not reasonable to think this thing could go on for months and months?
I think
Very
it could. I
upsetting.
mean, I think that's why they renamed it. You know, yesterday
Oh, I didn't
because
know
they
this.
were bumping up against the 60-day War Powers Act. I'm not saying this is how it works. It doesn't. But they then said there was a ceasefire. They've now renamed it to Operation.
So that
something
they
else.
think the 60 days starts all over again? Oh my God!
I know,
I
you
didn't
missed
even
that.
know that.
I mean, it was like so wacky that I'm not sure like how serious this is. Here's what's gonna stop it is if the Iranians can get a deal that the Israelis get out of Lebanon, which is like the side story here that no one's paying attention to. That was part of the original agreement. Then Israel, before Trump could even get to the microphone, says we're not getting out of Lebanon because we're.
Well, in fairness, the U.S. and Israel said it was never part of the deal. Iran said it was part of the deal.
But Trump, okay, that may be true, but the U.S. negotiators believed that Lebanon was part of the deal. Now, maybe they didn't run it by Trump. So I do think that Lebanon is sort of out there as sort of, is this something that then you can sort of, figure out whether the Israelis would agree to it. Netanyahu is also wildly unpopular, and if you look at the domestic politics in Israel, he may have incentive to do it as well. But that's sort of where we are right now. I have been saying from the beginning that your military analysts on my network and elsewhere can say that we did a good job. I'm not sure we can say that anymore, but that's not a strategy. I mean, that our military can drop bombs is not a strategy. We all, the Trump administration went into this believing that this was a war by air. And the Iranians always knew it was a war about the water.
They thought it was Venezuela Redux.
They
It'll be
thought
over.
it was a war about the strait and capacity to have
a nuclear
navigation
weapon.
water.
We're
not. You were so far past nuclear weapons.
But he keeps talking about this. It's worse that your gas is $4.50 because you won't have a nuclear weapon.
That's because they can't. That's
because have a nuclear weapon. So how does he finesse that?
Nuclear will not. Nothing new about nuclear will be in whatever exit strategy he gets. Marco Rubio has literally said twice now at the podium, the goal now is to get Iran, to get this back to where it was. That where it was some, it's not going to be better than the deal Obama already had, and it's going to be much worse. The nuclear now is so not driving how this resolves itself. And that was, this is the thing.
So he just keeps saying it as some baloney line.
Because of the bombing and because of the bombing we did last year, their ability to enrich uranium is greatly reduced, and our drones and other satellites are so powerful that we're going to be able to monitor this. That's what they're going to say, right?
They'll say that. The Iranians won't agree to that. Once again, this is the crazy thing about this White House, or maybe they just think that everyone else is stupid, is they don't think about the capacity of other nations to have agency.
Okay.
So the Iranians have agency. Their goal now is not nuclear. Their goal, and the only way they get this goal is to make it hurt for a really long time. Their goal is deterrence. That no country, no president, no Israel does this again. They can wait it out because they want. The only way they maintain deterrence is by making it hurt with a long memory for the U.S., the Europeans, and other countries.
Okay, so we have 2 minutes left. Now. We're going to end on an up note.
Okay, what about invading Cuba?
That's the up note.
Yeah.
The up note is, in the last couple of, Trump said, I'll take Cuba whenever I want. He hasn't said it quite as much lately. The good news, and I mean this sincerely, is Republicans other than the usual suspects, other than just Rand Paul, are fairly high profile saying, don't do Cuba.
Yeah.
Which leads me to believe that Trump's people are smart enough to not do Cuba, even though he'd love it because it's an easy hit. Am I wrong on that too?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, no.
We're doing
Why
Cuba.
am I wrong?
We're doing Cuba. We're doing Cuba. We are absolutely doing Cuba.
Oh, God.
How does Trump win? Let me put it a different way. Trump needs to create new headlines because that is all he has. He has no good narrative. So the only narrative he can control is, do I have a new headline? We're doing Cuba, people. And those Republicans, if I'm mad, at this stage, I can't even be mad.
We'll all fade when the time comes.
They will all fade when it comes. We're doing Cuba, and we know that because we've sent over 32 satellites, surveillance satellites, which you only do when you're prepping
Can I tell you something I shouldn't tell you on air?
What?
We have a rule on this show which you have violated. The rule says you may question the opinion of the host once on air. You may not do it
I hope
in
I'm
two
wrong about Cuba.
appearances in
I
a
hope
row.
I'm wrong about Cuba.
So it's been great to have you, Juliette.
Thank you all.
Thank
Bye.
you, Juliette
See you
Kayyem.
later.
Yeah.
Can you imagine
invade
if he
Cuba?
invades another country?
I mean, okay. We
Nice
have been
to see
speaking
you,
with
Juliette.
National
Take
Security
care. See you
expert
later.
Juliette Kayyem, former Assistant Secretary of Homeland Security under President Barack Obama, faculty chair of the Homeland Security Program at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government, and CNN senior national security analyst Juliette Kayyem. Thank you very much. Up next, we're going to get a break from all this tough news. We're going to hear some fantastic music. We're going to be joined by it's a kind of a new twist on Bach and Baroque music with a modern twist. You're going to hear some great music up next. Stay tuned. You're listening to Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH, live from the Boston Public Library.
Boston Public Radio today was made possible by our listener contributors. That's how GBH works. The money you give keeps Boston Public Radio on the radio. Please sign up as a sustaining member during this membership drive. Listening to Boston Public Radio doesn't cost you anything, but pulling this show together every day, that takes work. So why not lend a hand with a contribution in any amount at 888-897-9424 or online at gbhnews.org.
Okay, so this is the last day, and for us, the last 35 minutes of the spring pledge drive. And we have very good news. Our favorite time in pledge is when there's a match. And as Marjorie explained a couple of minutes ago, we have a match for the remainder of our show till 1 o'clock. For the next 34 minutes, whatever you give is matched dollar for dollar. For example, if you choose to give $12.50 a month, become a sustaining member, you will not only get the dry bag, which Marjorie loves and will describe, and the towel, which I will hold up, but your $12.50 a month will become $25 a month, thanks to some generous supporters of GBH. So if there was ever a time to give, either because of the match or because you procrastinated and you're feeling bad, it is now, and you do it by calling 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Yeah, 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org, where you can give securely online. And it is a really great opportunity when the money gets doubled, right? So we have a generous group here of GBH members who will donate an additional $1 to match every dollar that you give, and it only lasts until 1 o'clock, which is about 34 minutes left. Here is our present for today. It is the GBH dry bag, which I've said a million times, but why not say it one more time, is great if you are going someplace like the beach where you don't want to get your stuff all full wet or full of sand. That's the other big problem. And this, not only that, you can see through it so you know where your suntan lotion is.
And for the $12.50, I've been holding up the beach
towel.
Holding up. I decided to hold it up bunched up right now to show what the towel would look like.
Yeah, you can roll it up.
Bunched up.
Jimmy, you can fit it in the dry bag.
You probably could fit it in the dry bag.
Yeah.
So you get the towel, which is great. It's got is it the Salt and Pepper Bridge, as we said a minute ago?
Salt and Pepper Bridge.
I think it is. Whatever it is, it's got this really nice, it actually is quite nice. And I don't know the material, but the material is the kind of stuff that really dries stuff really well. But again, let me say, for maybe the last time this pledge drive, I hope you're not giving just to get the thank you gift. If you're giving, we hope you're giving because you really appreciate what our colleagues do here and what you get from them on air and behind the scenes. People do wonderful and work really hard here. We hope you support them by calling 888-897-9424 or simply going to gbhnews.org. Welcome back to BPR and 89.7 GBH. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Mayor Wu joins us for an hour on May 27th. We're all in for a treat. Our next guests have re-envisioned centuries-old music from the likes of Bach with modern twists. Soprano Sonja Tengblad is the creator. It'll be performed with Emmanuel Music tomorrow night at the Strand Theatre in Dorchester. It's called Baroque Remix, Old Music, New Stories. Before we hear about the show from them, let's hear the song. Here it is. Welcome.
To sum up all this BS, that for advancing the company I get treated like crap. Though I've doubled our profits, I, for some reason, am not in line for your job.
Well, I never said that.
Oh, now you're gaslighting.
But this is most ridiculous.
Well, I know that's so hard for men to do.
Oh, I see. So that's how you talk to your boss.
If you don't consider me, I'll go to HR.
No, don't do that. Let's just discuss it later. Hey there, Alexa. Order me some DoorDash while I wait for her to finish her report.
Just look at you with your antiquated work hours. You know that damn report will take me 7 minutes.
Then what are you waiting for? Just do it.
It's 5 o'clock. My workday's done. You won't look at it anyway. You'll just get on your Peloton.
Yes, a 30-minute Beyoncé. That is my favorite class.
Oh, really? Yesterday I caught you just sitting on it, binging TikTok, watching My Money Don't Jiggle on repeat.
That's quite enough. I have to get new curtains.
So I'll be leaving.
Serpina, this doesn't bode well for getting a promotion.
That was
join us,
great.
Sonja.
That was great. I can imagine Bach talking about Alexa and talking and being treated like crap. I mean, that is great.
We're now joined by soprano Sonja Tengblad and conductor and artistic director in Emmanuel Music, who's part of tomorrow night, Ryan Turner. Ryan, good to see you. Sonja, that was fabulous. Welcome. Good to see you both.
So, first of all,
put your headsets on, you two. Sorry.
Tell us who the gentleman is. Your bandmates, if I can call them bandmates.
Of course.
Okay.
Who are they?
Who's who?
This is baritone David McFerrin.
Hello,
that was
David.
great.
That was great.
That was great.
And Colin Lynch on the electric harpsichord.
Fabulous.
So this was a riot. I mean, I'm thinking about Baroque music, and you're thinking about
not what you think.
Yeah, and then you're talking about DoorDash and TikTok and your Peloton bike. And where'd you come up with this idea?
Well, the whole purpose of this concert is just to have fun, because I think we're all dealing with a lot right now, and we just need to have a little more fun in our lives.
Yeah.
I did these shows in Minneapolis, and we had so much fun that I wanted to bring them here to Boston. And thanks to the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture Strand Theatre grant, we were able to do that. And yeah, the second part of this, the purpose of this show is, I think that we as classical musicians in this industry need to be thinking of ways that we can make this music a little more relatable to people. I think we need to be programming the standard works in our canon, but finding ways to make them more relatable. And one of the ways we can do that is by updating the stories. So that's what we've done.
So Ryan, Marjorie, when we were preparing for the show, was raving about your operation today. I mean, raving. So I don't know if she should tell people about it or you should. Why don't you start? And then she'll add on. Tell us about Emmanuel Music.
Emmanuel Music has been around since 1970, and for 56 years now we've been doing Bach cantatas as they were intended, in the form of a worship service from mid-September to mid-May, with a professional orchestra, professional chorus, professional soloists. In addition, we have a big evening concert series. We do staged operas, we do the big St. Matthew, St. John Passion, etc. And we have an incredible ensemble of human beings that also happen to be great musicians.
And where do you do them?
This is all done at Emmanuel Church, 15 Newbury Street. We're the ensemble in residence at Emmanuel Church called Emmanuel Music.
Can I just highlight the fact that you can, at any given Sunday, walk into Emmanuel Church and hear a full Bach cantata with Boston's finest musicians. That's so rare and special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is, because you are just walking in right out the street. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I went to a Tenebrae thing there right before Easter, maybe 10 years ago. And,
look at the smile on
Marjorie's face. And well, tell people what Tenebrae is. It's so moving and so emotional when they have all the candles. They take away one candle at a time until you're sitting there in the dark. It's about Christ dying is what it's about. But it was so, people are in tears.
Yeah, and we usually do it in Lindsay Chapel, which is this wonderful little lady chapel that seats about 100 people, an amazing acoustic, and it's a service that goes from light to darkness.
Yeah. So what's your connection to her? So you're part of this deal tomorrow night?
Sonja is, I'll be conducting the band tomorrow night, and Sonja is one of our sopranos in the ensemble, an amazing soloist, and has been with us for, 10, 15 years? How long has it been?
Who knows at this point?
You know, Marjorie and I were talking also this morning about making this stuff accessible at a time when people, whether it's discussing the BSO, which we do all the time, and we're actually going to have 2 BSO patrons tomorrow joining us who've been leading demonstrations outside Symphony and Carnegie Hall. But this is the route to get particularly, I would assume, young people and people who are not regulars into the audience, right?
I think so. I mean, I think for some classical music can feel really intimidating, and you know, if you're doing vocal music, the stories are old and you can't relate to them quite as well anymore.
Do the purists object to what you're doing? And there are purists out there. Do they object?
You know what's funny? The one of the pieces we're doing tomorrow night, Bach's Peasant Cantata. It was written for the birthday of a tax superintendent. And so it features these 2 peasants complaining about taxes. And I actually didn't have to rewrite much of that. We just updated the jokes. There's still a lot to complain about in regard to taxes in 2026. So it actually isn't quite a departure.
And I will say it's a little bit of like the equivalent of a roast now, because what they're doing is they're making digs at this tax collector. And in the midst of this, they've added folk tunes, which were popular at the time, which I will say one of the genius things that Sonja's done with the Bach is added in 2, I don't want to give it away, but
don't give it away.
2 very familiar pop tunes that everyone will know and want to sing along with.
Yeah. As they would have done.
So give us 2 things. Give us a 30-second overview of what people will get tomorrow night. And I'm embarrassed to say we don't have a website for how people get tickets, so tell us that too.
That's fine. You can just show up at the Strand at 7 p.m.
Okay.
Free admission. Anyone just come.
Free admission.
Yes, free admission.
Talk about burying the lead. It's free?
It's free. It's family friendly. We have
Fabulous.
Spanish super titles, 85 minutes long. Bring the kids. If you want a good exposure, a fun introduction to classical music, this is a great opportunity for that.
Sounds spectacular. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you so much for coming in, and thank you for everything you do at Emmanuel. It's just absolutely amazing. So it's a treasure in the city, as is the Strand, a treasure in the city. We've been speaking with conductor and artistic director of at Emmanuel Music, Ryan Turner, and soprano Sonja Tengblad. The show is tomorrow night at the Strand Theatre in Dorchester. It's free. PM. Baroque remix, old music, new stories. And the lyrics are just brilliant and a riot. Thank you very much. Strand Theatre tomorrow night.
The music is
the whole
great.
thing. Yeah,
7 p.m. and it's free. Bring the family. It's great to see you both.
Thank you so much.
Thank you both.
Coming up next, we're going to...
When something happens in the news, you want to hear about it from people you trust. Jim and Marjorie have been trusted news voices in New England for years, and for over a decade, they've been right here on GBH every weekday at 11 a.m. So whatever happens out there, at the courthouse, the state house, or your hometown, you can trust Jim and Marjorie to unpack it, talk it over, and bring in an expert or 2 to tell you more, all without commercial interruptions, thanks to your support. So help keep the conversation going. Pitch in now by calling 888-897-9424 or giving online at gbhnews.org.
Okay, so here's the deal. Since I've screwed up the pledge for most of the show, I'm going to get this one right. There is a match for the next 22 minutes. That means, I'm sure you know this already, every dollar you contribute, no matter how small nor how large, or how large, I think is the appropriate thing there, it's matched dollar for dollar. So if you do $12.50 for the dry bag, which Marjorie is totally infatuated with, or and the GBH beach towel, part of the same deal, it becomes $25 a month, and you're only paying $12.50. So maximum bang for your buck. Again, if you're a procrastinator and you care about the station, which I would guess by definition you do, or you wouldn't be listening, here's an opportunity to show it. And if you're going through tough times, give a few bucks. Just do it so you feel part of what you care about, which is the work that our colleagues do here at GBH. And it's quite simple and easy. You either call 888-897-9424, I meant simple and quick, or gbhnews.org. And again, $12.50 a month. You get this beautiful beach towel and the dry bag that Marjorie is just ecstatic about. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. Welcome back to BPR and 89.7 GBH. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browder, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We decided, Dan, not just with spectacular music, which it was, but with something that makes everybody smile. You know what that is, Marjorie? A mango.
Mango.
Not only is spring sprung, so to speak, in Boston, another season is just taking its first steps. The Wall Street Journal calls it Indian mango season. Quote, when a devoted and slightly unhinged community descends into a collective frenzy over a delicacy that most of their neighbors have never tasted. I didn't even know there was an Indian versus Mexican mango thing. That got us thinking, what is so special about mangoes? Dried, frozen, fresh, they're delicious and versatile. I love them. They're also kind of hard to tell when they're ripe. Maybe you can help us with that. Nothing worse than cutting into a fruit you've been eyeing desirously, only to find it's rotten and mushy. So what's your trick? The lines are open at 877-301-8970. Call or text for this ode to the mango and let us know how you're sourcing your mangoes, how you tell that they're ripe, and explain the joy you feel when you participate in a mango experience. Now, do you like mangoes as much as I do?
Well, I'm embarrassed to say, no, I love mangoes, but I'm embarrassed to say that because I've had some bad experiences with fresh mangoes, telling when they're ripe, and I've goofed it up a lot of times. I have bought frozen mangoes to put in my smoothies, and I really feel embarrassed about this. Well, no, I realize that just like, you know, I love fruit, and you have to be able to tell when fruit is ripe, and I've gotten really good at pineapples, as you know.
Squeeze the mango when it gives a little.
Squeeze, but you haven't really, you buy it chopped up already.
I don't buy it chopped. I eat it dried, and I eat it fresh.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I also have? I have a mango splitter. Do you know what a mango splitter is?
You have a mango
I
splitter?
have one of my kids bought it for me.
Do you split mangoes with your mango splitter?
Well, that's why it's called a mango splitter.
But you actually have to know when to split them. Are you splitting them at the correct time?
Well,
Why have you never brought
let me
me
explain
mangoes
something
in?
to you, Marjorie. What I was hoping when we started this segment is rather than relying upon my expertise with a mango, which I knew you'd criticize, I was just hoping somewhere out there the executive director of the National Mango Board might be listening. And Ramon, who is that executive director of the National Mango Board, is actually on the phone. Ramon, we are so thrilled you called us. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Jim. Hi, Marjorie. What a great show. It's so nice to be here with you and talk about mangoes.
Before you get to the mango itself, how does one become the executive director of the National Mango Board, Ramon?
Isn't that the coolest job in the world?
It is.
Yes.
So you know, our mission is very simple: to increase mango consumption among U.S. consumers.
Oh, well, do it. Tell us the joys of the mango.
And we presume you are a mango expert.
Well, obviously he is. He wouldn't be the executive director of the National Mango Board.
Okay. Tell us how we make sure that they're ripe to eat.
Excellent question.
So there are over 1,000 varieties of mangoes.
Oh my God!
Mangoes have been around for more than 4,000 years. The most popular varieties in the U.S. are about 6 of them, and it's very simple. I mean, in order to know what a perfect, ripe, ready-to-eat mango is, you find out by the touch, not by the color. But if you feel it and it gives a little, I mean, that's pretty much a way for the mango to tell you it's ready to go, ready to be enjoyed. And cutting it and tasting it and enjoying the taste of mangoes, it's such a pleasure and unique experience that I wish most consumers would actually be able to experience.
We agree with you.
In one of the stories we read today in the Wall Street Journal, that mango was called the fruit of the gods. Mm-hmm. I did not know, however, Ramon, that there was apparently a smackdown between those in Mexico that grow the mangoes and those in India that grow the mangoes. And after my reading this morning, the Indian mango is superior?
Well, with over 1,000 varieties of mangoes, all mangoes are there's so many different varieties, so many different tastes, and so many different uses. It's such a versatile fruit. There's no way to tell one mango from one country being better than another one. There's plenty of offerings to satisfy even the toughest taste in consumers.
Ramon, your last name is Ojeda, right? I want to let people know. Ramon Ojeda, right?
Ojeda, yes.
Ojeda, yeah.
Ramon Ojeda. And we have a website, Jim.
What is it?
It's called mango.org. Mango.org.
That's very simple. Straight to the point.
How many mangoes do you eat on an average day, Ramon?
Oh, yeah, I'm way up there. I eat at least 1 to 3 mangoes every single day.
Oh, that is fabulous.
And is there any mango cocktail that we should know about?
Excellent question.
Well, listen, there are. I was going to tell you that if you go to mango.org, there are over 300 different recipes in which you can enjoy mango in a cocktail or in a food dish. Where it's so simple to use it as a food ingredient, but there's also a mixology tool that is being powered by AI on our website that can tell you with the ingredients that you have in your pantry at the house. It can tell you what kind of drink you can make or what kind of dish you can make with those ingredients. So
Ramon
Ojeda, we can't thank you enough for calling in.
Yes, thank you very much. Who knew?
Good luck.
There was a national mango board. Did
Can
you know
I tell
that?
you something? I
did
just
not
went
know
to
that.
mango.org.
Yes.
Listen to this. How to choose a mango, how to cut a mango, mango varieties, mango facts, FAQs, beautiful colors. Check it out, mango.org. That was the executive director of the National Mango Board. Who knew? 877-301-8970. He, of course, is the expert. Hannah, one of our colleagues, has rained on my parade. She says a mango splitter is a sham. Just cut it. Boy, that's
right.
That's
like
tough.
a pineapple thing that people get. You stick down in the middle of the pineapple. That's a sham too. You have to.
It's not a sham.
It is. It really is. You have to learn how to. You have to be a fruit whisperer and really perfect by feeling the fruits. That's what Martha Stewart said she should do. She spent all the time in her backyard feeling the melons in the backyard of Turkey Hill Farm. Martha Stewart is still going strong. She's got a new book out.
She's in her 80s, by the way.
She looks terrific. She sounds terrific. She has a whole thing about how to make brunch and Mother's Day and all this kind of stuff.
By the way, since we're in pledge, let me just say, when you try to tell people what do you get here, what other show would have the executive director of the National Mango Board just happen to? We didn't even reach out to him. He just calls in.
You know what mangoes are, Jim?
The fruit of the gods.
The fruit of the gods.
Let's go to Beaver in Forge Village. Hi.
Hi, Beaver.
Hi, guys. How's everything going?
I think we're really good. Thank you for asking. What's up?
I'm here to tout the wonders of the Philippine mango.
Oh,
the
Philippine mango.
Is what it's called the champagne mango. It's the ones with the yellow skin.
Oh.
Okay? And also, I want to let you know that you don't have to worry about a mango being ripe. They're quite delicious green as well. You just salt them and maybe add a little spice to them, but they're wonderful. Green mangoes as well as the ripe ones.
Are you the executive director of the Filipino Mango Board, Beaver, or not?
No, but I've been traveling there for 20 years. My girlfriend's from the Philippines.
That's
so we got
fabulous.
Mexico,
Excellent,
India,
Beaver.
and the Philippines.
Yeah.
Now, one of the texters just said, my favorite dessert is Thai mango sticky rice.
I've had that, actually.
Fresh, ripe.
Is great.
Yeah.
Oh, Beaver's still with us.
Beaver's still with us. Fresh, ripe mango
Goodbye,
slices
Beaver.
with
Thank you
warm,
for your
sticky
call.
rice.
Don't forget to give. Don't forget to give to GBA.
Give to
Thank
what?
you, GBH.
Oh, thank
Absolutely,
you,
Beaver.
That was fabulous.
Beaver, thank you very
What a
much.
call.
Because where else could you have mango talk?
Yeah.
The mighty mango. Anyway, fresh ripe mango slices with warm sticky rice and sweet coconut milk drizzled on top is an amazing combo. And then somebody else says they're from Jamaica, and they don't really have a way of telling how ripe they are, but because we grew up around them, it's kind of like they just go with them. It's like a home recipe. They can kind of feel it because they've grown up with them. Apparently, the Indian mangoes are more expensive. They're talking about how
much more expensive.
At Costco, people are very excited in a certain spring season. They get all the Indian mangoes, and they have to do this procedure where they get all the little pests off them, which is they radiate all the pests off them. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, well, anyway, they're talking about Indian varieties can cost as much as the retailers at Costco's well-known lobster tails. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Can I read a text before we get back to the calls from Kathy at Topsfield? My grandson loves mangoes. So on his 10th birthday, which was last Sunday, I bought him his favorite ice cream, mango sorbet. You ever had that? I forgot. I've
never
It's
had that.
Fabulous.
No.
From the store. He chose that over a cake that I made from scratch. So that's a sad story at the end, but it's a beautiful story at the beginning. On the other side, because we want to represent both sides, anonymous text, eating mango is too difficult. You can't get everything off the peel. I would say just keep trying, and you'll get there. Let's go to David. David, hold 1 second.
One of our texters says, I have the website. It's called nomango.org, where you can find out all the different ways you can ignore mangoes and live your life happily.
That's not fun.
Without them.
That's really cruel. That's really cruel.
Ian Lowell says Filipino mangoes are really the way to go. Yep. So we get.
Had you ever heard of them before Beaver called?
I did not know they were. I didn't know where they were from. I figured they were from California, like everything else. You know.
No, but I mean, obviously.
Now I know they're from Mexico.
Well, didn't
they're from
also
India,
Ramon
they're from
tell us
Filipino.
there are 1,000
Thousands varieties, yes. There is the Kent mango, the honey mango, the Hayden mango, the Mingalo mango.
The what?
Mingalo mango.
Mingalo mango. Okay, enough with that. I mean, that is what it sounds like, but it's not necessary.
The Thomas Atkins mango.
Yeah.
We don't know who Tommy Atkins is, but apparently a mango
He was the
is named.
prior executive director of the National Mango Board. And when he stepped down, there were unfortunate circumstances I really don't want to talk about. He'd prefer. We invited him on. He said,
a scandal?
I can't talk about a
scandal.
scandal. He said, I've really talked about it enough.
David from Amesbury.
Talk to Ramon.
What is your
So we did.
relationship with the mighty mango?
Hello, David.
Hello, I grew up in Mexico.
Oh,
yeah.
We had mangoes very frequently.
Yeah.
We had mango forks, which is something I haven't seen in years, which look like a trident that you could put.
Oh, I've seen
exactly
those.
where the stem, a little stem right where the stem goes. You would put the middle of the trident, and it would keep it from turning.
Yeah.
And then you could slice off the mango to get more of the flesh off of the bone.
But that was an excellent call, even though you're not head of any mango organization. It was excellent. Thank you for calling, David. Marjorie, the show's over.
Josie from Gardner eats some skin and all, the
I
whole
don't
thing.
think so, no.
Okay, thank you very much for listening to
That was
another
an
edition of Boston
excellent
Public Radio.
mango
Even though we were a
discussion.
little discombobulated today,
Think
keep
so?
up with us a little. Keep up with us 24/7 way of our podcast. Check out our TikTok page at Boston Public Radio. Tomorrow, back in the saddle in Brighton with Boston Globe business columnist Shirley Young, former Public Safety Secretary Andrew Cabral, a transit panel with former Transportation Secretary Jim Aloisi, Reggie Ramos of Transportation from Massachusetts, and a conversation with two members of the Boston Symphony Orchestra, Patron Action Network, a group of BSO orchestra patrons who are backing Andres Nelson. There's kind of this big mess still circulating over there at the BSO. We want to thank our crew, Zoe Matthews, Nicole Garcia, Hannah Loss, Ariana Gonzalez, our engineer John the Claw Parker, our executive producer Jane Bologna. Special thanks to Maddie Geyer, Patrick Lally, Bill Francis down here at the library. The Curiosity Desk with Edgar B. Hurt III starts right after us here on 89.7 GBH. Edgar is at 1 o'clock with the Curiosity Desk, and Jared Bowen is at 2 o'clock with the Culture Show. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I'm Marjorie Egan.
I'm Jim Browdy.
Hope you can tune in tomorrow and go get some mangoes.
This is the GBH Spring Membership Drive, and it ends today at 7 o'clock tonight. And your contribution right now, that is essential to keep programs just like Boston Public Radio, the Curiosity Desk coming up next, and the Culture Show on the radio here in Boston and throughout our region. We're here asking you to please take a few minutes right now. Give as generously as you can. You can go online at gbhnews.org or by calling us at 888-897-9424. And a very good afternoon to you. I'm Mark Owen. She is Melissa Jones.
7 minutes is all the time you have left to get your gift doubled thanks to the dollar for dollar match we have going on right now. Sign up as a monthly sustainer at just $10 a month and it becomes $240. Well, where does this extra money come from? Well, we've got a group of generous GBH members who have lined up extra money as a way of encouraging you to support your GBH listening. But this match ends in just 7 minutes, so please take advantage of it right now. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
Yeah, take advantage while the offer is there. And if you could join us at $12.50 a month, we'll thank you with two really popular gifts. We have our GBH dry bag and the GBH beach towel. It is a special last day offer. Check it out, the microfiber towel. It packs really small. It's super light and very, very absorbent. Kind of amazing how absorbent it is for such a thin towel. The artwork, of course, features a silhouette of the Longfellow Bridge and the Back Bay skyline against a colorful backdrop of what kind of looks like digital sound bars. We have the phrase "Great News Travels" under the bridge along with our 89.7 logo, and it's bundled with our GBH waterproof dry bag, making it a true summer package. The dry bag, of course, is waterproof. It's got a buckle closure that doubles as a handle to keep all your gear safe and dry from the elements. Again, $12.50 a month or a one-time gift of $150. And right now with that 2-for-1 match, that contribution is worth $300 to GBH. So a great time to get involved. Check it out. We have a picture online at gbhnews.org or call us at 888-897-9424.
The free press continues to be attacked, ranging from the president's defamation suits to regulatory threats to last year's defunding of public media. All of it is intended to silence or chill public discourse. Here at GBH, we remain committed to being a strong and loud voice reporting the facts and stories that help keep our government accountable. We're asking for your help in doing that. You do that by becoming a member now, and you do that by calling 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org.
And we're just taking a few minutes right now to ask you to sign up as a monthly sustaining member of GBH. You know, whether you're new to the station or you've been an annual member for years, really, it's the best way to financially support all the programs that you rely on. And that consistent source of revenue for GBH is especially critical since we are primarily funded by the community due to the elimination of our federal funding. Really easy to set up that reoccurring gift from your bank account or your credit card. We just need some contact information and the amount that fits your budget. Maybe that's $5 a month, maybe $50 a month. Anything in between works for us as well. So please take those few minutes and enroll online. You can look for the donate button at gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424.
We've got lots of folks to thank so far in participating in our match and helping us keep on track for this drive. Suzanne in Warren of Rhode Island, Susan in Boston, Rebecca in Ashland says, I'm a longtime listener. I enjoy Jim and Marjorie tremendously. Sarah in Newtonville loves Jim and Marjorie also and gives in honor of them. And Elizabeth in South Dartmouth loves Masterpiece, Rick Steves, the Nature Channel. So thank you, Elizabeth, for joining us over here on the radio and supporting GBH News as well. Thank you to all of you. If you have not made your gift right now, today is the last day of our drive. Now is the time to do it. And remember, as we've been telling you, there is a $1 match going on right now for the next 4 minutes or so. So jump on board with that right now. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
Yeah, Melissa's right. Just about 4 minutes left to go in this $1 match. We want to thank a very generous group of our GBH members. They understand the importance of our fundraising efforts, and especially with this being the last day of the drive, we're trying to make up a little lost ground, and we can do that with your help. All gifts, any amount right now, are being matched dollar for dollar, but your time is running out. This is your last chance really to support BPR and have your gift go twice as far thanks to this $1 match. Easy to do when you go online at gbhnews.org. Easy to do by phone at 888-897-9424.
The specials for last day get better and better. We've also got at $12.50 a month right now. They're popular two gifts as our thank you to you. The microfiber towel, which you will need when you hit the beach, coming up real soon here. It has artwork that features a silhouette of the Longfellow Bridge and the Back Bay skyline against a colorful backdrop. It looks like digital sound bars. It's very cool. And it's also very absorbent and packs up nice and small. And then, of course, that goes into the GBH waterproof dry bag. So it is a true summer package. It is our thank you to you when you give it $12.50 a month as a sustainer right now. And of course, that gift gets doubled in the next couple of minutes. So please get on board with us right now. Take advantage of all the great stuff that's happening here and help us end this drive on goal. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
And want to send some more thanks. We have Eliza and Haverhill writing to us. Jim and Marjorie helped me make it through the day. Smart political analysis and silly bits all in one. What's not to love? Thank you so much, Eliza. Also, Margaret in Plymouth, Christopher in Marshfield Mills, and so many more. They are getting in on the action. Have your gift go twice as far thanks to this dollar for dollar match. Last call, though. This is your chance to get in while there's still time. Thanks again to a generous group of our GBH members. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
From the stories of centuries past to discoveries that will define our future. How did we get here's how-tos, and more. Journey with us down the rabbit hole on the Curiosity Desk. Coming up next on GBH 89.7.
Support for GBH comes from you and Liberty Mutual Insurance. Liberty believes progress happens when people feel secure and exists to help people embrace today and pursue tomorrow. Learn more at libertymutual.com. And the Boston Speaker Series announcing its upcoming season at Symphony Hall for 7 evenings, including Pete Buttigieg, former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, historian Doris Kearns Goodwin, and former U.S. Ambassador to China Nicholas Burns. BostonSpeakers.org.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. Today on the Curiosity Desk, well, we hear a lot about GLP-1s in the news, and you've probably caught wind that there are potential uses beyond weight loss. One economist over at MIT makes the case that these drugs, with proper federal oversight, could also play a serious part in fueling the American economy of tomorrow. Then we zero in on the P of GLP-1s, peptides, tiny chains of amino acids that can pass a message along to your cells, telling them, well, to do all sorts of things. Some benign, others that sound downright futuristic, or so the proponents claim. We'll parse science fact from science fiction. And finally, we ask the critical question: how come we never see any baby pigeons? That's all ahead this hour on the Curiosity Desk.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. President Trump is on a high-stakes visit to China. NPR's Tamara Keith reports the welcome Trump received at the airport is only the beginning.
There was a red carpet rolled up to Air Force One, and a military band started playing as Trump appeared at the top of the stairs. Trump was greeted by the vice president of China and 300 Chinese teens in matching outfits who waved small Chinese and U.S. flags in sync while chanting a welcome to Trump. A much larger ceremony is planned for when Chinese President Xi Jinping welcomes Trump at the Great Hall of the People. Trade is on the agenda for the visit, and to drive that home, Trump was joined on the flight over by NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang and Tesla CEO Elon Musk. Tamara Keith, NPR News, Beijing.
The Trump administration says it's imposing a moratorium on new Medicare enrollments by hospice and home health agencies in order to root out fraud. For the next 6 months, new providers of the affected services will be unable to sign up for reimbursement from the federal insurance program for older adults and individuals with disabilities. President Trump is expected to name David Ventrella as the next acting director of the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. NPR's Jimena Bustillo with more.
Ventrella most recently worked for the department overseeing contracts between ICE and various detention facilities. He previously worked for ICE during the Obama and George W. Bush administrations. He left the agency to work for GEO Group, a private prison company that contracts with the federal government for immigration detention. The selection comes as leadership at DHS, led by new Secretary Markwayne Mullin, are looking to shift away from controversial surges of enforcement and build up detention and deportation capacity. Ventrella will inherit a much larger workforce. About 12,000 new employees were added in the last year. Jimena Bustillo, NPR News, Washington.
The federal civil trial continues in Oakland, California today against artificial intelligence company OpenAI. Billionaire Elon Musk who has a rival firm, is also suing OpenAI CEO Sam Altman. We have more from KQED's Rachel Myrow.
Sam Altman said no single person should control AGI, artificial intelligence, or AI that surpasses human intelligence. So, he told the court, Elon Musk's insistence on majority control made him a poor fit for OpenAI. On cross-examination, Musk's attorney asked whether Altman had repeatedly been called a liar by people with whom he'd done business. Altman replied, quote, I have heard people say that. This case turns on how OpenAI, which began as a public interest nonprofit, has come to be a for-profit industry leader. Closing arguments are Thursday. For NPR News, I'm Rachel Myrow.
This is NPR News.
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH newsroom in Boston, I'm Craig Lamolt. Massachusetts State Trooper Kevin Trainor was remembered and honored at his funeral today in Salem, a week after he was fatally struck by a wrong-way driver on Route 1 in Linfield. That driver was also killed in the crash. Governor Maura Healey said Trainor's choice to respond to the call, even after his shift was over, saved lives.
Trooper Trainor laid down his life so that others could live theirs. He did that not by chance, but by choice. The choice to serve and protect, no matter the risk. And that's what makes him a true hero.
State Police Colonel Jeffrey Noble said troopers described Trainor as the most enthusiastic trooper at the barracks. The 30-year-old was engaged to be married. A new poll out today shows Massachusetts voters have negative views of both President Donald Trump and Governor Maura Healey. The Mass Inc. polling group survey found 45% of registered voters view Healey unfavorably, while 39% had a favorable view. Mass Inc. pollster Rich Parr says those numbers might concern Healey in an election year, but he says the issue will come down to how the Democratic governor stacks up against her eventual GOP challenger.
Oftentimes, voters might not have the most favorable opinion of someone, but still would be willing to vote for them in November compared to the alternative.
Meantime, more than 60% of respondents had an unfavorable view of Trump. The Republicans vying to run against Healey, Mike Minogue and Brian Shortsleeve, both support the president. Mostly cloudy, a slight chance of showers today, a high near 65, clouds tonight, and more showers expected tomorrow. This is GBH.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive. Progressive Commercial Insurance protects small businesses from retailers to tradespeople. Progressive covers a variety of business needs with a range of coverages. More at progressivecommercial.com.
Welcome to the Curiosity Desk on GBH 89.7. I am Edgar B. Herwick III. We are streaming live at youtube.com/GBH News. Hey, we're back at the library this Friday. All Things Considered host Arun Roth is back with another radio magic trick that you can perform at home. All you need is a few coins, so get those couch cushions up and scrounge around for some coins before the show on Friday. Okay, these days we are hearing a lot about GLP-1s and what they can do, not just for type 2 diabetes, weight loss, but also sleep apnea, addiction, maybe other things as well. And while there is still critical research to be done, the question is, could this emerging market one day become a centerpiece of the U.S. economy? Well, one man who says yes is with us over Zoom right now. That is none other than Jonathan Gruber. John is the chair of the MIT Department of Economics, where he's also the Ford Professor of Economics, and he's the author of the latest book, Jumpstarting America, How Breakthrough Science Can Revive Economic Growth and the American Dream. Fitting title for today's conversation. Welcome back to the Curiosity Desk, John.
Good to be here as always, Edgar.
All right, let's start with what this is. I mean, we've heard GLP-1s described as a miracle drug. From where you sit, is that a fair, accurate characterization?
I think it is an accurate characterization. So basically, just to, at risk, kind of get into the biology for 1 second, at the risk of sounding dumb to your biology listeners, basically our body produces these glucagon-like peptide 1s, or GLP-1s. It's a hormone our body already produces. And what it does is it essentially goes to work in your pancreas, brain, stomach, and elsewhere to basically increase insulin production, which puts sugar to work rather than having to sort of hang around and do bad things. It reduces sugar being released from the liver, and it in particular reduces gastric emptying. It slows the rate at which food leaves the stomach, leaving you sort of full. Moreover, and that was sort of the initial thought, but we've learned more of is it also works on your brain. It doesn't just make your stomach feel full, it makes your brain feel full. It increases your feeling of what we call satiety, or basically feeling full. The problem is the natural GLP-1 we have gets broken down quickly by the body. So what these medications do is they allow these GLP-1s essentially to hang out longer and do their good work longer than they have been. And this leads to lower blood sugar and less intake of food. This has the potential of amazing effects because high blood sugar is a key driver of bad outcomes for diabetics, and high weight leads to diabetes. Remember, Edgar, 1 in 3 children born in America today are projected diabetes before they die.
Woo.
Okay, this is an enormous, we have a country with a 40% obesity rate. Okay, this is an enormous problem. That's why this drug has the potential to be such a miracle.
Okay, so for those with diabetes, I think, there's pretty clear evidence of improved health with GLP-1s. We've also seen with weight loss, it seems to be quite effective. How effective in the long term, I guess that's maybe a little bit more mixed in terms of what we understand at this point. But as we said in the lead, there's a whole bunch of other promising things that this might do. So, when we're thinking about the other potential benefits of this drug, how much stock should we be putting in that? Which is to say, how much should we be thinking about the upside, the potential upside of this drug when we think about, sort of its role in the future of American life?
Edgar, it kind of feels like we're living in an era of hype. GLP-1s, AI, everybody's talking about the unbounded potential of these things.
Totally.
But so let's talk about what we know and what is possible.
Okay.
What we know is absolutely, for those with diabetes, there is a clear evidence of improved health. Moreover, those who are obese, there's clear evidence of weight loss and improvement in biometric measures like blood sugar. But it's less clear how much it actually improves their health. Okay? Certainly, once again, for diabetes, there's reduced odds of heart attack, heart disease, and things. For those who are obese, it looks like if you can classify people into sort of pre-diabetics, those who look most at risk for diabetes, then there's obvious improvements in terms of their health. But for other obese people, the evidence more mixed. Another thing people say is will save us money. What Novo Nordisk is out there saying all the time, they make Ozempic, is out there saying all the time is, gee, this will pay for itself because people won't need medical care. The evidence on that is actually pretty weak. It turns out it looks like it improves health, but there's not a lot of evidence it saves money, at least not yet. Then there's the really interesting part, which is, does it affect other things? Like, for example, there's informal evidence of things like reducing drinking problems, reducing gambling and drug use, even healing post-concussion syndrome, because it basically reduces inflammation, which is one of the biggest problems with post-concussion syndrome.
And with these other things, is it a little bit, I know you're not a biologist, but this part where you're talking about it works on the brain too and kind of makes us feel sated. And so that's why it looks like it may have, kind of positive impacts when it comes to things like drinking and gambling.
Exactly. At the risk of getting called out and flamed in your comments, roughly speaking, I would say the way our understanding has moved from the stomach to the brain.
Yeah.
I think we knew about its effect on the stomach a long time ago. We're increasingly learning about its effect on the brain. And by that metric, I want to come back to something I've talked about before on the show, Edgar, and I want to keep hitting, which is we may have missed its biggest benefit, which is just mental health.
Yeah.
Which is that a lot of people are slaves to their compulsions. They don't want to be doing things they're doing. And if this can reduce that, then that could be an enormous improvement in the mental health of our citizens. But that is still to be studied. Okay, so basically, what do we know? Very important for diabetics. Looks like definitely potential to improve health, at least for pre-diabetics, and with unbounded potential in this whole range of other areas that really we haven't yet gathered real good clinical evidence on.
Well, speaking of things we know, anybody who's seen a commercial for a pharmaceutical on television knows that the last 10 seconds is somebody speaking really fast with a whole bunch of potential side effects disclosures, right? So when it comes to GLP-1s, what do we know in terms of are there side effects here?
Yes, there are side effects. In particular, if you talk to your friends who are GI docs, they will complain about the fact that sometimes the digestive process can slow excessively and food can get stuck essentially in the colon. So there have been some side effects, but I would say pretty universally. And here's the thing, whenever you're talking about any drug, some people will benefit a lot and have few side effects. Some people benefit a little and have a lot of side effects. There's always a distribution. But if we talk about the aggregate, the benefits vastly outweigh the side effects.
All right, you're listening to The Curiosity Desk. We're talking with economist Jon Gruber about potential economic impact of GLP-1s. Well, let's turn to the economics of this. It feels like a lot of potential here, but it also feels like there's got to be another shoe to drop here. So what is it? It's cost, right? I mean, this is a high cost thing.
This is a brand new era in American medicine, which is we have never had a treatment that could be this widely applicable that's this expensive. We have treatments that are widely applicable, aspirin, et cetera, but never ones that are this expensive. Prices have come down a lot, but Ozempic is still about $500 a month. Okay, do a little math. 40% of Americans are obese. Okay, that's $600 billion a year. Okay, if every obese American were taking Ozempic, that would double the nation's entire spending on prescription drugs.
Right.
Okay, this is incredibly expensive. And we've seen the result, Edgar, which is insurers, public and private, are starting to drop coverage for non-diabetics.
Right.
The federal government says you have to maintain coverage for diabetics. We've seen both public programs like our own Mass Health and private insurers like our own Blue Cross and others. It's not just Blue Cross. I don't want to call it Blue Cross. It's all private insurers.
Yep.
Are reducing their coverage of GLP-1s.
Because it's breaking the bank for them. Is it because because of that expense? Because if too many people are on it, it's just going to break the bank?
Blue Cross estimated that there was a 3% drop in premiums for everyone just from not covering these drugs for the subpopulation that's not diabetic.
Can we pause for a second? Why are these drugs in particular so expensive? Do we know? Is it that they're expensive to manufacture? Is it a lack of shelf stability? Is it recouping of R&D funds? Like, why do they cost this much?
They cost this much for two reasons. First of all, drugs are very expensive to develop. Okay, it's not about the what we call in economics the marginal cost. The cost of producing the next GLP-1 is low, very low. It's the cost that was put into of every idea that starts to become a drug. 1 in 1,000 end up making their way all the way through the process.
Sure.
Okay, and it's very expensive. Particularly the phase 3 trials on humans can be incredibly expensive, take a long time. Those costs need to be recouped, and they should be recouped. If they weren't recouped, no one would innovate.
Right.
The innovation in the pharmaceutical space, and once again, this is not, I discussed this, if people are interested, I was on 60 Minutes about 6 months ago talking about this for other drug therapies.
Yeah.
And I'll make the same point I made then. There are not bad guys here, okay?
Yeah.
The pharmaceutical companies now they're making profits, they're doing okay, but they are in large part recouping the investment they made. The insurance companies who don't want to cover these are saying, look, if we if we cover these for everyone, that's going to raise our prices. Other people have to become uninsured because they can't afford insurance. There's no bad guy here. Okay. The problem is that essentially we have a system that is broken in terms of how it reimburses for pharmaceuticals. And it leads to situations where if you develop a pharmaceutical where it becomes a blockbuster, you make excessive amounts of money, like Novo Nordisk, which is at one point was a huge share of the GDP of Denmark, made so much money on this. Okay. But if you've put the same amount of effort in through maybe something no fault of your own, doesn't become a blockbuster, you lose huge amounts of money. And basically what we have to recognize is we have to figure out a way to more appropriately price drugs in a way which allows a return for that risk.
In the case of this drug, or at this point, maybe just drugs in general, what is the role of the international market in all this? I mean, presumably for these, there are more customers outside of the U.S. in total than there are inside of the U.S., and we hear all of the time about how our healthcare system sort of works in a way that nobody else's does. So what is the role of the international market in this, if anything?
It's a great point. So you'll often hear President Trump's talked about the fact that we pay way more for our drugs than any other country.
Right.
And it's true. A given drug costs a given non-generic, a drug that hasn't gone off patent yet, costs about 3 times as much here as it does in a typical European country. Often what that means is in European countries, you don't get access to some of those drugs. So if you look at GLP-1 coverage in other countries, it's much less comprehensive. Maybe there's one product you can get, not the 9 or so you can get here. Okay, they really limit the coverage and they pay a lot less. So the question for the US is there scope for us to pay less without harming the access to drugs that we now have? And I would argue there is. we are the only country in the world. You ask why are our prices so high? There's a simple answer, Edgar. We're the only country in the world that doesn't have the government set those prices. Okay, we're the only country in the world that has the private market set its drug prices. And what that means is some drugs are underpriced. Some drugs are miraculous and could be worth even more. Many drugs are overpriced. And what other countries do, what we need to do, is you need to assess the value of the drug in terms of how it improves human health and set the price relative to that. Okay? So basically, that's what you need to do right now for GLP-1s. It's not clear what that price is. The truth is, it might not be that far off what it is. And if all these positive studies are right about the effect GLP-1s have, then $500 a month might not be that far off what it's worth to us.
But in that case, to your point, these promises that we're hearing from the drug companies, or if it is very true that all these other potential benefits come to bear, then the cost savings that some people say maybe is there really will be there, right? So the idea that if the cost of the drug is $500, but we know for that $500 we're going to be getting health savings down the road because it's having a positive impact on not just people with diabetes, but also all kinds of outcomes for people who are overweight and mental health benefits. Well, that $500 becomes worth it, no?
I think it's very important, Edgar. You're partially right, but it's very important to separate two terms that sound the same but are very different.
Go on.
One is cost saving.
Yep.
And one is cost effective. Cost saving means what you just said, that literally will pay for itself. I'm sure it ever will. Cost effective means that it's a good way to use dollars relative to how else they might be spent.
Gotcha.
What I mean by that, what I mean is you could get years of Ozempic for many people for the cost of one back surgery. And roughly speaking, 8 out of 10 back surgeries should not be happening in the US.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is more cost effective to give people Ozempic than it is to be giving people back surgery.
Right.
But it's not necessarily cost saving. And that's a high standard to live up to. Very few things in healthcare live up to that standard. Cost effective means is the benefits delivering to society higher than the costs? And right now, the measured benefits, I think, are probably not.
Yep.
But it's getting close. It's getting close. So then you have the question, well, gee, let's say $500 a month is too high, but let's say $300 a month is the right level for the social benefit.
Yep.
Well, that's still going to be, we're talking still $400 billion. Who's going to pay for that? And the truth is, the U.S. taxpayer needs to pick that up.
Can I ask a question?
We need to recognize that we should be willing, but part of the way we can pick that up, Edgar, is by not paying for things that aren't worth it.
Right.
So we need a full reconciliation of what we pay for healthcare, not just drugs, but all healthcare, Edgar.
Yeah.
And we need to say, where are we paying above what it's worth? And we need to cut that. And my guess is we can find enough money there to pay for people who need Ozempic to get it.
What about the variable of time here, which is to say, like, if the reason why this drug is expensive is because the insurance company is recouping R&D money, it's recouping money that they put into 100 misses for this one home run. Well, presumably, if this is, a drug that is going to be very effective, it will be as effective 10 years from now as it is now. And, if this is the recouping of costs, does it need to be recouped at that rate forever? Or can we look down the road and say in 5 years, we can price it back down to $100 because they don't need to be making that much money on it anymore?
So great point. So three answers to that. First of all, for most drugs, after 17 years after they start developing it, which is usually more like 10 years after it hits the market, they go off patent, generic forms come along and the price does drop. It's not clear how well that works with things like GLP-1s.
Right.
But that is one answer. The second answer is if they're going to make a lot of money, that's fine, that's American capitalism, but let's tax them. These drug companies pay almost no taxes because they shift their profits offshore and don't pay taxes. So there's no problem with people making money. That's the American way. But they need to pay the taxes they owe on the money they're earning. The third answer is the hardest one, which is a tension, Edgar, between 2 points I made. One point is it worth it? The other point is there excess profit being made?
Right.
Both things can be true.
Yep.
Okay. And the answer is how we titrate between those two. We want to recognize, we want to encourage the development of drugs that are worth it, but reduce the excessive profits that are being made. And that is a much more difficult regulatory task. The regular task of just measure how good what the value of drug does, make sure the price isn't above that. That's already hard enough. The next step, which is make sure the price isn't too high and make sure that even at that price, the companies aren't making extra money. That's the next step that is even more challenging that, quite frankly, other countries don't even do.
All right, John, before I let you go, while I have you, we're sitting here. Healthcare is one of your things. And I wondered, what do you make, if anything, of the resignation of Marty McCary, the head of the Food and Drug Administration yesterday? Does it change anything for this or for anything moving forward?
I mean, this administration is such a clown show. It is just hard to predict what anything's going to do to anything. I'll be honest. Look, let's be very clear. The Food and Drug Administration touches our lives more than almost any other agency in government. Okay, it's foods and drugs and a lot of basically all the stuff we're eating and treating ourselves with. The FDA is in charge of regulating. This is an incredibly important job at which, for traditionally, there were incredibly qualified people. Markley was actually pretty qualified relative to other people in the Trump administration for this job. The fact that he's gone so shortly means that it's just incredibly hard for qualified people to continue to have jobs in the Trump administration.
All right, that's Jon Gruber. We've been speaking with him, chair of MIT's Department of Economics, where he's also the Ford Professor of Economics. He was instrumental in creating both the Massachusetts Healthcare Reform and Affordable Care Acts. He is also co-author of the book Jumpstarting America, How Breakthrough Science Can Revive Economic Growth and the American Dream. John, as always, thanks for being with us.
You bet. Take it easy.
Coming up, a deeper dive into the P in those GLP-1s, peptides, and their surging popularity with everyone from looks maxers to biohackers to the Secretary of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. This is the Curiosity Desk on GBH. Stay with us.
This is the Curiosity Desk, and today is our GBH membership drive. If you enjoy listening to Edgar and his crew as they dive into your most curious questions, consider making a contribution today. Any amount, whether it be $5, $10, or $50, supports our mission to bring you down-to-earth and interesting conversations. Enhance your own curiosity every day when you call 888-897-9424 or when you visit gbhnews.org. That's 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org.
That's 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. This is the Curiosity Desk, and we're just taking a moment in this final day of our spring GBH membership drive to ask you to get involved. And here to help me do that is GBH News' own Patty Daniels.
Hey, Edgar, last day.
This is it. All good things must come to an end.
That's true. And also,
all bad things must all things must come to an end.
All things. But you know what I think of on the last day of the drive is all the people who've been like, oh God, I got to get to that. I got to get to that. I got to get to that. And that is, that like really speaks to my journalist heart. I think people come into journalism because they thrive on the deadline.
To get things done, indeed.
Here's an extra incentive for you to meet today's deadline on the last day of the drive. If you give a gift of $12.50 a month, we are going to thank you with a pretty rad beach pack. Edgar, what are the details?
All right.
A few things are going on here.
Yeah, in this pack, we've got a beach towel, which is fantastic. And you think, that's great. We'll get a beach towel. That's kind of nice. It's a microfiber towel. It's light. It's absorbent. And it's got the phrase Great News Travels with a bridge along with the 89.7 logo. So that's great. But then I think the real star here is the GBH dry bag. That's right, the waterproof bag. It's got the buckle closure. It doubles as a handle so you can kind of carry the thing along. But this is the thing that is going to keep all of your stuff at the beach safe from the elements. We all know how the weather can be here in New England. It can change on a dime. So even on a nice beach day, you're going to want to keep your stuff dry. Both of those coming your way for just a gift of $12.50 a month on this last day of the drive. And you could do it all with a simple phone call right now, 888-897-9424. Or if you don't want to talk to anyone, you can do it online at gbhnews.org.
Pack your towel and your dry bag and head out for a summer adventure. I think of all the things that you've talked about on the show.
Yeah.
In the few months that you've been on the air, Edgar, so many stories that have taken us into the outdoors to understand ecosystems and nature and animals, and like things are warming up here and we can finally get outside to see and enjoy those places in person.
It's true.
And it's pretty great.
We've been waiting. It's a long wait here in New England for beach weather, and it's brief when it comes. So get out there and do it now. And like Patty said, one of the things we really are trying to do here on the Curiosity Desk is just take a moment moment and look at the world around us and talk about it and learn about it. There's so much out there right in front of our eyes, especially when we get out into the outdoors. There are questions waiting to be answered, and hopefully questions that you will be inspired to ask us so we can do future segments. So get that beach towel and that dry bag as our thank you for your gift of $12.50 a month. And then just know you've done it. You've done your part to keep public media strong here in Boston. 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org. And thanks. You're listening to the Curiosity Desk on GBH 89.7. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. We're streaming live at youtube.com/GBH News. We are back at the library this Friday, by the way. All Things Considered host Arun Roth returns with a radio magic trick that you can perform at home with just a couple of coins. So scare up some coins and get ready for Friday. As for now, well, there are a lot of quick-moving trends in the wellness world. Beef tallow, methylene blue, mouth taping, but perhaps none are as scorching hot right now as peptides. While the sometimes called building blocks of proteins have existed since pretty much the dawn of life, the medicines and nutraceuticals that are made with them are especially popular right now. We were just talking about GLP-1s. That P is a peptide, but also for things like skincare, injectables that claim to promote muscle growth. Now, their popularity comes as Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is pushing to loosen FDA restrictions on some peptides. And now former FDA Commissioner Marty McCary has resigned from the agency yesterday. So what are peptides and what are they not? Here to help us sort through that and talk a bit about what loosening restrictions on them could mean, we are joined by Dr. Krishna Kumar, a professor of chemistry and biomedical engineering at Tufts University. Krishna, welcome to the Curiosity Desk. Thanks for being with us.
Fantastic to be here.
All right, what are peptides?
So peptides, as you just mentioned, they are short chains of amino acids, and proteins would go into the same category. So once it exceeds 50, no one really knows what the line is, but yeah, we settle as scientists on 50. So beyond 50, it's a protein. Under that, it's a peptide.
So they're kind of everywhere and presumably have been known about for quite a long time, yes?
Absolutely. So these are the building blocks of life, amino acids, proteins, peptides. But the category is real in some ways, and they've been around, as you said, forever, and they do all the business end of things in life.
So wait, what's the business end of what inside of a living organism? What's the business end of things?
So the peptides they're mostly hormones. They can be toxins. They can be the villains or the heroes in the story in some ways. And the proteins basically catalyze every reaction which is involved in metabolism. So those are also peptides, just longer, if you will. So yes, I think these are crucial to life as we know it.
Yeah. So what are some common peptides, even if things that I would have heard of, things that, I maybe I don't know is a peptide, but you can tell me, well, here's something you've heard of. This is a peptide.
Right. So so you've heard of insulin?
I have heard of insulin.
Insulin is a peptide, and we are celebrating literally the 100th anniversary, 2 years ago, of insulin actually being marketed as a compound that is medicinally useful. And now you cannot escape GLP-1s.
Yeah.
So Ozempic, Mounjaro, Zepbound, what have you, there is just no way you can escape peptides.
And when you say hormone, I mean, hormones is another one of these sort of words where I think people are like, yeah, I know what hormones are. And then you stop and you say, but what are hormones? And you think to yourself, actually, I don't know exactly what a hormone is. So what hormones are peptides?
Right. So hormones can come in many different ways. So they can be steroids, they can be peptides, they can be other things. But in this instance, GLP-1 is a peptide hormone, which is released in the gut by the L cells. It travels to the pancreas and releases insulin and controls blood glucose. It's just an unstable molecule. That's why we had to go down this path of actually developing something that is actually useful as a therapeutic So that's one example. The second example I would give is that there are lots of other types of hormones, but they may not necessarily be peptides, but depending on whether you want to talk about just peptides or other things, I can reserve that answer.
There we go. We're going to stay on peptides. So when it comes to peptides, whether it be something like a GLP-1, which you're talking about, or insulin, in both of those cases, these are things that are mostly injected. What is this like sort of a key component of how peptides are used? Or like why are they injected rather than just taken as a pill?
Yeah. So peptides are proteins, just shorter, and therefore your body treats them as food. So if you take them orally, most likely it is just protein, and they will be digested as you might eat breakfast or lunch or dinner.
So like just like your eggs or your steak that has high in protein, it's just like non-protein.
Absolutely correct. And so that is the main reason why they have to be injected, so that they can get into the bloodstream and survive the gut, which is the main place where digestion, if you will, happens of proteins into smaller, back to the building blocks.
Yeah. Where do we get them from? Like when it comes to, like when we're using, like whether it be insulin or GLP-1s, like how do they make them? Where do they get it?
So, it's a longer story. I can share two anecdotes. So the point is that our body is producing all of these hormones, peptides, all the time. And they're super important in physiology, in neuronal development, in every possible thing you can think of. But what I would say is that, I can share one story depending on the time. Even the GLP-1s, it turned out that GLP-1, which is produced by, as I said, as soon as you ingest glucose, as soon as you ate something for lunch today, your, gut produced GLP-1, but it only lasts for 90 seconds.
That's pretty fast.
So it's just degraded. It goes out of circulation. What I would say is that it's a big industry now, but I think the first drug that was approved came from the saliva of this Gila monster lizard, which lives right outside of Tucson, Arizona, and which shares, a lot of sequence identity with GLP-1. And it seemed to be a little bit more stable, so it was taken as an injection. So you asked about injections. No one likes injections in any event, but that was twice a day. And so by the time we got to Ozempic, it was once a week, and that is acceptable. And, most people would agree with that.
Gotcha. You listen to The Curiosity Desk. We're talking with Tufts chemistry professor Krishna Kumar about peptides. Do you have a sense of, peptides, as we said earlier, they're incredibly trendy right now. They seem to be everywhere. It is a term that has clearly been picked up by marketers, and it's being slapped on all kinds of things. Do you have a sense of why? Like, why all this? If we've known about these forever, like, what's going on now?
So, there has been, the latest kind of trend has been that they've been introduced for wellness. So, and people might think that, if I'm a bodybuilder, I want to take these peptides. And, that makes sense because it's protein, protein-ish, if you will. And then the question becomes, what is the evidence supporting whatever that is? So two things have happened. The first is that the HHS has kind of said that these are 12 peptides that we are going to, not regulate. So you can actually buy them from whomever is willing to compound and give it to you. And so the question becomes, are these things useful? And a lot of attention has gone to BPC 157, which is one peptide, but
I think they need a better name for that peptide. That's not
true.
A great name.
That is not a great name at all. I completely agree with you. And so it's body protection compound 157, whatever that is.
And what is it being used for? What is it? Why is that one?
So people are taking it. Bodybuilders are taking it. people in wellness industry are actually marketing it. The thing that I would say is that it is not, what I would say is peptides actually are useful. There is a lot of evidence they can be useful, but anything that is not done by clinical trials should be taken with care.
Should be taken with care, not yeah. I mean, well, on that front, I mean, if we're talking about, obviously clinical trials are done under, controlled conditions, and therefore, you can kind of make sure that you can kind of get the data, the kind of data that you want to get to a certain extent, because you are controlling the parameters in an experiment. But if a lot of people out there sort of taking this stuff and we're deregulating it, you're going to see is there potential for a natural experiment here to kind of happen, and for people to just look over time at what's happening, what's working, what's not, and can we collectively learn more about these under these circumstances, or is it just going to be too muddy?
So if it turns out that you have someone take something which is benign, perfectly fine, and then you run this kind of clinical trial which is actually not regulated, but what you would learn from it is different from what you would learn in a regulated clinical trial. But like if you were asking me what should one ask before they try these things, it's like, what is the molecule, what route, and it is really difficult to untangle this, because there is both good information and really misleading information today, which is really difficult to untangle. So, what are the risks and who's monitoring the adverse effects? So anecdotes are great. So I loved it, and I'm going to put it on some social media.
Yeah, and check out my muscles so big.
Exactly.
Nice.
So it's fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. This is the Curiosity Desk. We're talking with Tufts chemistry professor Krishna Kumar about peptides. Do we know these to be benign, like these 12, or just peptides in general? I mean, is there danger here, and what kind of precautions should I be taking?
Right. So I think there are lots of peptides which are the most potent toxins in the world. So the conotoxins that come from, lizards and snakes are they can kill you in 5 seconds.
So snake venom is a peptide?
Yes. So there are snake venoms, there are, scorpion venom. So there are lots of things which are really peptides which can cause real harm.
So just because something's a peptide definitely doesn't make it safe. So that's one.
Correct. Okay. So the second pivot here would be that that there are lots of utilities for peptides, and maybe the question you're asking is, how does one recognize one thing versus another?
Yeah.
And this is where the whole muddle situation of, where social media goes is difficult, and it is really difficult to untangle. The questions I would ask is, what kind of human trials have been done, and is that reasonable?
And if there have not been human trials done, if I'm on social media and somebody says, hey, here's a peptide for you for this, and I, dig into the research and I see, there's nothing that's really said that this is safe and effective for this use. What do I do? Should I not take it then?
Yeah, I would still. So I'm not a clinician,
right?
But I would still listen to a clinician. And if you've taken something, what I would say is that, bring it to the clinician and say, actually don't kind of, not have that be suppressed. Like, you bring it to the clinician and just say, I've taken this thing. This is what I took, and
what do you think?
Yeah. So I think the primary clinicians should be the people who are advising people in some ways. I don't want to play clinician here.
Fair enough, but I think always good advice, and advice for a long time, which is talk to your doctor. All right, we've been speaking with Tufts chemistry professor Krishna Kumar about peptides. Krishna, thank you so much for sharing your time and expertise with us here on the Curiosity Desk today.
Nice to meet you. Bye.
Okay, after a quick break, picture in your mind a baby duck. Okay, now picture a baby goose. Tiny baby robin getting fed by its mother. Okay, now picture a baby pigeon. Struggling? Yep, there's a reason why. It's the Curiosity Desk on GBH. Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to the Curiosity Desk, where we answer your questions. We turn these little wonderings into in-depth conversations with voices across different fields. Unique listener-driven shows like ours only exist with listener support. Your support. Consider supporting the Curiosity Desk today and help continue these insightful and wonderful investigations into the unknown. Call 888-897-9424 or visit gbhnews.org.
That's 888-897-9424, or you can do it online at gbhnews.org. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III from the Curiosity Desk, taking just a moment on this last day of the Spring GBH membership drive to ask you to get involved if you haven't. By the way, thank you to everybody who has given throughout this drive and in the past. We cannot do it without you. If you are among those who's been thinking, I should probably give something this drive, this is your chance. This is your last chance. This is the last day. Make that contribution. Support GBH at gbhnews.org or with a simple phone call to 888-897-9424. And, of course, we have a way to say thank you today. And with me in studio to tell us more about that is GBH News' Patty Daniels.
All right, Edgar. So you're heading out for your weekend adventure in Massachusetts.
Sounds great.
You're going to go for a little kayak. Maybe you're going to go for a bike ride down to the pond. Sure. You're going to want to bring a towel.
That's true.
And the towel's going to get wet. You're going to have to pack it up in something, right? So here's what we have. $12.50 a month sustaining membership. Give that pledge right now, 888-897-9424. And we're going to send you a thank you gift of a GBH beach towel that is packed inside a GBH dry bag.
This
and
is
as
amazing.
someone who has always loved being in the water all summer long, I don't know how I lived the first half of my life without dry bags, but I'm glad they're in our lives now.
It's true.
And I'm pretty stoked to get a GBH dry bag to carry around this summer to be proud of my support for my favorite public radio station.
And that towel is not just any towel. It's GBH beach towel, microfiber, so it's got the light and super absorbent qualities. It's also got a silhouette of the Longfellow Bridge and the Back Bay skyline, and it has Great News Travels on it, as well as, of course, the 89.7 logo. So that's not just any towel. That is a towel that is showing your pride and saying, like, yeah, I am a fan of GBH. I am a fan of public radio. And, fight me if you don't care, because I'm into it. I'm into it so much I gave $12.50 a month to get this thank you gift. So that's what we're asking you to do. Stand and be counted among those who are keeping us going here. We cannot do this here at GBH without your support. We know you know this, but we cannot say it enough. Thank you for your contributions, and thank you for considering making either another contribution or getting involved in the first time. You can do it right now. It's the last day of the drive. 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org.
Okay, but we're lovers, not fighters, and we do care.
Good point. Yes,
gbhnews.org, 888-897-9424. We'll be glad to send you this amazing thank you gift of a beach towel and dry bag with the GBH logo on it. And on this very last day of the drive, a little encouragement to procrastinators. Tyler in Milton says, I have listened to and watched various public media for my entire life of 52 years, and I have never donated before.
Wow.
Tyler says, better late than never. I couldn't agree more.
Tyler,
Join him in the effort.
That is awesome. Thank you, and thanks to everybody who's given and who is going to give during this drive and future drives and past drives. We cannot do it without you. 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org. And again, thanks. You're listening to the Curiosity Desk on GBH. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. We are streaming live at youtube.com/GBH News. Hey to everybody on YouTube. Okay, we're back at the library this Friday. All Things Considered host Arun Roth is back. Radio magic again, a trick you can perform at home. All you need are a couple of coins. So scare up some coins and get ready for Friday. As for now, we're going to round out today's hour with a dip into the Curiosity Desk archives and a story inspired by a listener from Worcester. Now, there's no shortage of unique things about the city of the Seven Hills. It's the birthplace of the monkey wrench, the site of Major League Baseball's first ever perfect game, and of course, there's nothing quite like the pipe organ in Mechanics Hall. But there is one thing that makes Worcester like just about every other city, and that is it is home to plenty of pigeons. And it's something about these hard-to-miss but easy-to-ignore birds that has long mystified Worcester's Bill Hughes.
So you go, have you ever seen a baby pigeon? And they all stop, and they look at you like you're an idiot. And then they think, and they go, now that you mention it, no. I said, they can't be born full-grown. Where are they?
For answers, Bill turned to me, and I turned to Dr. Elizabeth Carlin, a researcher who studies urban wildlife. She began by confirming the obvious.
So baby pigeons do exist.
They're born typically 2 at a time, 2 adult pigeons, who are actually really good at making a family. For one,
pigeons are mating for life, so they're continuing to go back to the same partner to mate with.
They also keep the fire burning during those long-term relationships, having, on average, 13 babies a year.
The male will kind of puff out his chest and fan out his tail feathers and strut for the female. And this helps keep up those pair bonds as they continue to mate and raise offspring together.
And they do raise them together. Egg incubating and brooding duties are shared, with the father taking the day shift and the mother working overnights. Feeding the young is also a 2-pigeon operation, as both the male and female produce milk.
They feed the chicks with something called crop milk, which is milk that's produced in their crop that is kind of cottage cheese-like and is really, really rich in protein, and it allows those babies to grow up very, very fast.
Now, as for those babies, Carlin says, well, there's really no sugarcoating it.
They're not exactly the cutest. You think like cute baby birds, ducks, and even chickens are pretty cute, but pigeons are not very cute.
They're sort of gangly and awkward.
They're pretty pink when they're born,
with some short yellow feathers.
But the feathers aren't really covering them.
All this to say
that if you came across a baby pigeon, you might not know that it's a baby pigeon.
Still, it's not easy to just come across one. They stay in the nest for about a month after birth and are essentially full grown when they leave. So the best place to see one is in a nest. Trouble is,
pigeons like to nest in kind of crevices and in hidden away places hidden from the wind and the sun and predators.
That's science writer Rosemary Moscow, author of A Pocket Guide to Pigeon Watching. I met up with her in Cambridge's Porter Square, a popular pigeon spot, to do some nest hunting. Pigeons nest exclusively on flat surfaces. Building ledges and the tops of air conditioning units are popular, so are the undersides of bridges and highway overpasses. The nests are often rudimentary, even just a few scattered sticks, and are usually pretty close to where flocks hang out. And Moscow says the best way to find one is to actually listen for it.
There's a thing called the advertising coo, where when a male is at his nest and kind of showing off, check out this cool spot I found, he'll go woo, 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 which sounds like a weird guy going woo.
Yeah. Or you might hear the babies themselves, which is how we spotted a nest on top of a structure along the Red Line tracks below us.
I hear squeaking. You hear squeaking?
I did hear the squeak. Man, you have a keen ear.
But once you start hearing it, you'll realize there are pigeon nests everywhere you go. They're quite loud.
Still, finding a nest doesn't mean there will be babies in it, and even if there are, all you might see is a parent sitting on them, which is as close as we got on this day. Wow, he is just chilling there. So you feel fairly confident there's a baby pigeon underneath.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
But while infant pigeons are elusive, Moscow says fledglings just out of the nest are actually pretty easy to spot.
And we're actually looking at some right now. So usually there's a few in a flock.
Wait a minute, where? She walked me through the 3 biggest tells as we looked on at one of the young pigeons, and binoculars definitely help here unless you're really close. Okay, 1, the eyes.
Its eyes are kind of a palish brownish color,
as opposed to an adult, which has orangish yellowish eyes. 2, an adult has quite shiny plumage, especially around the neck. This one,
the plumage is duller, there's not as much shine on the neck.
And 3, the beak. Pigeons have a bulbous area at the top of their beak called a cere.
And it has that, but it's much smaller and more shrunken down.
And Moscow says looking closely at pigeons, whether it's to spot babies or just because they're around, is, in her book, time well spent.
They reward a closer look. You know, there's just a lot more going on than you would immediately think when you walk by a bunch of these awkward little gray birds.
One final pigeon note here before I go. Dr. Carlin, who we heard from earlier, ran a study a few years back that showed that the pigeons in D.C., Baltimore, Philly, and New York City are all closely related, but the ones here in Boston are genetically unique. As for why, she says that all indications are, and this is not a joke, the journey through Connecticut is just as much of a headache for pigeons as it often is for human drivers. Thanks again to Worcester's Bill Hughes for the question that led to that story. Hey, what's your question? Let us know. Check out the forum on the Curiosity page on the GBH website and ask away. As for us, one more thing. Apparently 100% of YouTube commenters in our poll said they have not seen a baby pigeon. So be on the lookout, folks. We just gave you some tips there for at least how to find the youngsters. As for us, that about does it for now. The Curiosity Desk is produced by Aidan Connolly, Rachel Armani, Olivia Corcio, Hannah Lawson, Nicole Garcia. Patty Daniels and Jamie Bologna keep our nest safe and predator-free. John the Cloud Parker is our engineer. Special thanks to everybody in the production team that made it happen for us today. We will be right back in 23 short hours here on GBH 89.7. If you can't wait that long, check out the podcast. Till next time, I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. Stay curious out there.
You count on GBH and NPR to be your window to the world. We count on your contributions to keep that window open. It's the last day of our spring membership drive. Please give now at gbhnews.org or give us a call at 888-897-9424. Hi, I'm Zach Finn. Happy to be with you here today, and I'm with Melissa Jones.
When you support GBH right now by giving $12.50 a month, we can thank you with not one, but two popular gifts. The GBH beach towel and the dry bag. This is our special last day offer. The towel is a microfiber. It's small and light. It's super absorbent. It's got a silhouette of the Longfellow Bridge and the Back Bay skyline as its artwork, so it's very cool looking. And it has the 89.7 logo on it to show off that you support GBH. And then it goes in that waterproof dry bag. So it is a perfect, true summer gift package right now. And boy, you're going to need that any second now, I promise you. Give us a call right now. Make that gift of $12.50 a month. This offer goes away when the drive ends at 7 o'clock tonight. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
Yeah, that perfect summer package sounds pretty good right about now. If you've seen a forecast of the weekend, you'll understand. So anyway, take those 2 minutes right now. Make that contribution to GBH. We just need that little bit of contact information, the amount you'd like to give. You can sign up as a sustaining member, or you can always make a one-time gift, whichever you prefer. And in just 2 minutes, you're going to help bring NPR and GBH News to Boston. 888-897-9424 or go online and look for that donate button, gbhnews.org.
Has it been a while since you've done something new? Are you feeling a little bit maybe anxious about becoming a new member of GBH? Well, please don't. It's really quick. It's easy. It's simple. We've got friendly operators to take your call right now. Or if you don't want to talk to somebody, you can go online and give there. It's great. But your new gift to GBH right now is the one we are looking forward to receiving, because we know that you are here supporting us with your financial contribution, and that you're helping to support free press and journalism in Boston. That's what new members do right now. That's what all gifts do right now. So how about you make your new member gift at this moment? gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
Trusted news outlets are more crucial than ever, and NPR and GBH stand as beacons of truth and reliability. But to continue providing accurate and unbiased news, we do need your financial support. And right now we have a goal. That goal is to receive 5 contributions, and we got about 3 minutes to make that happen here. And your financial support helps so much. It helps combat misinformation first and foremost, and it also keeps our community and our country well informed. Doesn't get much more important than that. We're looking for 5 contributions. We got 3 minutes now to make it happen. What part can you help with? 888-897-9424 or go online, gbhnews.org.
We've been talking about making a sustaining gift, and all that means is that you make an ongoing monthly contribution that supports GBH. You can choose the amount that works just right for you and your budget, and then you choose to take care of that donation with your bank account or your credit card, and then we just get a couple of pieces of information from you, contact information, stuff like that. And then you're on your way. And you know that every time you tune on GBH, you are supporting. And GBH has a steady stream of income that we can look forward to when we plan. And most importantly, you know that when you listen, you're always giving and supporting. So that's what we're looking for you to help us with right now with your gift of, how about $12.50 a month right now as that sustaining member? We'll thank you with the beach towel and the dry bag. You'll have that ready to go for summer. And of course, that goes away at 7 o'clock tonight with the end of the drive. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
What's trending? What's interesting? What's going on around town? We're talking all things arts and culture on The Culture Show, next on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you. And Middlebury College in Middlebury, Vermont, dedicated to educating thoughtful, ethical, and globally informed leaders in the liberal arts, preparing them to address the world's most challenging problems. More at middlebury.edu. And Polar Beverages, family made since 1882. Founded in Worcester, Massachusetts by Dennis Crowley, offering a range of flavored seltzers, mixers, and dry sodas. Product information and locations at polarbeverages.com.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Henry Santoro in for Jared Bowen. Coming up on The Culture Show, the all-star sports of fashion footwear. Chuck Taylors. Before they were shorthand for cool, they were basketball's original road warriors. Sold gym by Chuck Taylor himself, who helped turn a canvas high top into the shoe of the game. We'll meet Converse archive manager Sam Smallage, who built the company's archive and helps designers turn a century of shoes, ads, and experiments into what comes next. Then, from canvas high tops, we're hitting the high notes with the New England Conservatory's Preparatory School. It's celebrating 75 years with a concert for the city at the Hat Shell. It's a showcase for young musicians playing for Boston, a program about welcome, hope, and home. That's all right now, right here on The Culture Show.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
I'm Henry Santoro in for Jared Bowen. This is The Culture Show live on 89.7 FM from our studio here at the Boston Public Library. Thank you all for sticking around. We are streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel before it was a fashion statement, before it was a punk staple, a movie star sneaker, or a red carpet flex. The Chuck Taylor All-Star was a basketball shoe, first introduced in 1917 by a Massachusetts company that helped define the look of American sport and style. And more than a century of that history lives in Converse's archive in Charlestown, right in the shadow of the Bunker Hill Monument. Shoes, ads, logos, materials, prototypes, experiments, hits, misses, rediscoveries that show how the brand kept moving through the American culture. Sam Smallage built that archive from what was once a spreadsheet and a folder into a repository of more than 10,000 cataloged items spanning from the 1870s to today. He is Converse's longtime archive manager. He preserves the company's past and helps designers understand what still might be useful, surprising, or ready for another look. Sam, welcome to The Culture Show. So great to have you in. I would imagine that for someone who comes from a family of archivists, as you do, this would be a dream job.
No, I mean, it was certainly a kind of unexpected turn. I think that coming from the family that I did, where it was kind of
Yep, we're switching out headphones here.
Switching headphones.
There we go. Oh,
Sorry
much
about
better.
that.
Oh, now I can hear you. So a dream job.
Yeah, a dream job for sure. I think that, like you were saying, coming from the family that I do, where my mom's a librarian, my grandmother's a librarian, you know, it just made sense, having studied history, that this related field of archive work would be something that I would fall into kind of naturally. And so when the job kind of fell into my lap of like, hey, this brand is interested in hiring you, it felt very natural to go that way.
And it's got to be purely coincidence that the name Smallage and the name Converse both have connections to Lyme, New Hampshire.
Yeah, that's true. So, I mean, like you said, I grew up in Lyme, New Hampshire, which is a very small town in New Hampshire, about 1,700 people. The library is actually called the Converse Free Library, which is where I learned how to read. And I was always like, that's weird. Are people like having conversations there? What's the deal with this name? And essentially, I vividly remember a 5th grade history presentation where Mrs. Fitzpatrick put up one of those old overhead projector sheets, you know, the clear transparencies, and they were teaching us about like
that big gooseneck that showed it up.
Yeah,
on the wall.
it was like the history of the town, and it was like, oh, this is when Lyme went from a sheep farming community to a cattle farming, you know, and this is when the bridge was built, you know, kind of thing. And it, I just remember this one going up very clearly and being like, this is the first man in our town to own a car. His name was Marquise Converse. He founded a little shoe company, blah, blah, you know. And for whatever reason, that fact stuck with me. So then cut to however many years later, I'm being interviewed for the job, and they're like, hey, what do you know about the history of Converse? And I was like, well, he was the first guy in my town to own a car. And they were like, who is this man? Hire him immediately.
Man.
Do not let him get back to New Hampshire.
Can you give us a brief history of the sneaker that's worn by everyone from Justin Bieber and Timothy Chalamet to Vice President Kamala Harris and First Lady Michelle Obama? It all began as a sneaker worn on the basketball court.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, it's a, you know, somewhat like any kind of historical journey over 100 plus years. It's somewhat winding, but essentially Converse started making basketball shoes around 1916, 1917. And pretty early on, they hit upon the idea of this diamond tread pattern that you can see on the bottom here.
Yeah.
And that diamond tread pattern allowed you to push off in multiple directions and prevented you from skidding off the court. So they gave it the name non-skid. And then based on feedback from coaches who wanted a darker canvas colorway so it wouldn't show as much wear and tear, we came out with a brown canvas version, which we called All-Star. So that's where the name All-Star comes in, as a couple years after the shoe came out. And then 1922, Converse hires a guy named Chuck Taylor, who travels the country putting on clinics and exhibitions, basically, you know, kind of teaching the world that how to play basketball, because basketball was really only about 30 years old at that point, and essentially kind of spreading the brand of Converse as much as he was spreading the game of basketball at that time, which is pretty cool. And then, I mean, from there, you know, the boom in like post-World War II basketball and stuff like that. And
they hired him as a salesman, right?
Yeah.
So he went from basketball court to basketball court.
Yeah, essentially traveling.
From team to team.
Yeah, traveling the country, networking with coaches, essentially kind of establishing this network of like, you know, establishing the All-Stars, the premier basketball shoe of its time, from really the 1940s or 1930s and 20s through the 1960s. It was the premier basketball shoe. And I mean, along the way, I'd say in the 1950s, it starts to be worn more casually. Into the 1960s, it gets adopted in surf culture and then counterculture and punk rock and hip hop and heavy, you know, and it kind of spirals into this second life beyond basketball.
It took on a life of its own.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you give us a sneak peek into what's among the 10,000 items in the archives that you play with every day?
No, for sure. I think it's, it's obviously a lot of shoes. I'd be remiss if it wasn't a lot of shoes, but, it's kind of the unexpected things. We have a fair amount of apparel as well, yearbooks, some of the oldest things we have that kind of are the things that make it so it goes back to the 1870s. We have Marquise Converse's journal that he was given on his 15th birthday. And it's like, as a historian, you dig into it and you're like, oh, does he mention shoes anywhere in here? Like, is he like, oh, my feet are so sore. If only someone would make a sensible rubber-soled shoe, and unfortunately, no, he does not say that at all. But so that's like one of those older, unexpected things. And I think for us, as a brand that's very much recognized for the Chuck Taylor, I wanted to bring this shoe, the martial arts shoe.
Yeah,
which
we have a couple examples here in front of us that you brought.
And so I wanted to bring a couple shoes. I brought a Chuck Taylor from probably the 1950s, but then I brought a martial arts shoe from the late 1980s. And so, I think it's those unexpected sports that Converse has played in over the years that are amongst those 10,000 items that people wouldn't necessarily expect to see.
Were the Chuck Taylors always, what came first, the high top or the low sneaker, the regular sneaker?
So the high top came first, and then the low top would have come out in 1957.
Okay. And so it was the high top that really put the company on the map.
Yeah, for sure. And I always think of the low top as being one of those dividing lines of like, when did it go from being purely a basketball shoe into a lifestyle shoe? Because we have this great oral history where a sales rep is talking about these kind of kids who are wearing it down to the beach, because with the low top, you can kick it on and off at the beach a lot easier than you can a high top. And so that kind of gave it this life as like a, more casual lifestyle shoe off a basketball court. So
are there items in the archives that when you first saw them, you said, holy cow, I never expected this, or I had no idea this had something to do with Converse?
I mean, I think people often ask, like, what are the things, like, what's your, like, bucket list of, like, things you're, still out there looking for and stuff. And I think I always, it's like the things I kind of don't expect to find are the things I'm still looking for. And it's like, it's unfortunate because it's like now we have like a Chuck from every decade. We have one of the first high tops. We have like an original Chuck Taylor box from the early the first Chuck Taylor box and stuff like that. So it's like one of those like, I can't, it's like, oh, I didn't even know this was what's possible, and then it's like, oh, I'll find like a box from say like the 1930s. And then I'll find the catalog from the 1930s that shows the box from, and it's
or
like
a
the story kind of comes
newspaper
together.
ad or something, yeah.
Or like even with this martial arts shoe. So it was like, this was on my desk the first day I walked in 2010. And then 5 years later, I saw a T-shirt on the internet that had this like crazy kind of like guy doing a karate kick on it. I was like, what's the deal with that? And I looked closer and it had the same fist logo that the martial arts shoe has. And I was like, oh my God, the shirt and the shoe are connected together.
So if you see something on eBay, do you have the authority to either bid on it or buy it outright?
Yeah, and and I will, at my discretion, kind of knowing kind of what's out there and what we need, what we're looking for and stuff like that. It's not something I do every day, but it's something that I kind of monitor and check into and stuff. And other times too, like we'll get messages from old employees. Like I just did an interview a couple weeks ago and an employee reached out after that saying, hey, I have potentially the other half of that pair that, you're looking for kind of thing. So it was pretty cool.
Do you have, are you a one-man show or do you have a staff that works with you with the archives?
I'm currently a one-man show, but we've had a couple contractors and full-time employees over my tenure. So,
and how long have you been there?
15 years. So it's been a good run so far.
And you're loving every minute of it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's one of those like, it's one of those like special jobs that like, I think before I got it, I kind of had pictured working in a place like this, like a public library or a college or institution.
Following in the family footsteps.
Yeah, like a traditional archive, and then to kind of be like, oh, I didn't even realize companies had archives, to like, oh, I didn't even realize clothing companies, fashion companies had archives, to, oh, now I'm kind of the guy that knows everything about this one very specific piece of footwear. So it was really cool.
Which is very cool, exactly. We're speaking with Sam Smallage, the archive manager at Converse. He built the company's archive from the ground up, now oversees more than a century of shoes, ads, designs, and discoveries behind one of the most recognizable brands in the world. Our conversation will continue on The Culture Show. Stick around, stay with us. We're going to take a 5-minute pledge break.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
The Culture Show. Smart local conversations about arts and entertainment with context and insight every weekday afternoon. Brought to you by listener support. Now it's your turn to keep the conversation going with an ongoing contribution in any amount. Please sign up as a sustaining member during our membership drive. Call 888-897-9424 or give online at gbhnews.org.
You count on GBH and NPR to be your window to the world. We count on your contributions to keep that window open. It's the last day of our spring membership drive. Please give now at gbhnews.org or give us a call, 888-897-9424. I'm Craig Lamolt. Joining me now are Sam Derringer and Phil Jones.
And we have a very special last day offer. You will get 2 of our most popular thank you gifts when you sign up as a sustaining member at $12.50 a month or $150 all at once. The GBH Beach Towel, the Dry Bag. You can get them both today. The microfiber towel pack's small and light and is super absorbent. The Dry Bag, waterproof with a buckle closure that doubles as a handle to keep your gear safe and dry from those elements. This is the perfect summer combo thank you gift on this last day of our membership drive. You don't want to miss out on it. And the deadline's at 7 p.m., so get it now when you go to gbhnews.org or when you call 888-897-9424.
And to stay on track right now, we do need 25 contributions in the next 45 minutes here. We need the financial support of everyone who relies on GBH to keep this important service on the air and available to all. GBH has been your source of credible news, and your contribution now will help keep it that way. Listener contributions empower us to investigate, verify, report the truth. Please give now to help meet the goal. We need to hear from 25 people in the next 45 minutes. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
And not only can you receive that thank you gift when you become a sustaining member today, when you give any amount, you will be entered to win 4-pack of tickets to Tanglewood. That's right, Tanglewood out in the Berkshires, to the Maestro of the Movies event, a tribute to John Williams. This is, if you're a John Williams fan, this is a no-brainer. You're going to hear the most iconic scores. Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Harry Potter, Jaws. The list goes on. The seats are in the shed, some of the best in the house. August 15th at 8 p.m., we're even going to include an $150 gift card to help cover travel and everything related to your trip. So you don't want to miss out on this. You don't even have to give to be entered, but we hope you do. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
And GBH continues to expand its news coverage because of support from listeners like you. In-depth reporting and detailed analysis matter so much to our members that they're willing to make a financial contribution to ensure this important service continues to grow. Their support matters, and so does yours. So take a minute right now, give and join your fellow GBH listeners in their support. It's an investment, really, that pays big dividends in what you're going to hear every single day when you listen to GBH. 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org.
So sometimes you just want to turn the radio off because the news, it gets that intense. But you stay with it because you know that NPR and GBH are going to help make some sense of it all. And you know you're going to meet people and hear stories beyond the headlines that broaden your horizons and stimulate your imagination. By the time you finish listening, you're ready to brave the world once more. And we're able to provide this service only through the generosity of our GBH members, you, listeners who also give money. So please join us by giving $5 or $10 per month so we can keep serving you in the months ahead. It's easy when you go to gbhnews.org or when you call 888-897-9424.
And today is the last day of our spring membership drive. You've probably heard the fundraising and been meaning to give. Maybe you even had your hand on the phone. Maybe you opened up the tab to go to the website to give, and then you got distracted by something. Now is the time to support GBH, your main source for fact-based news. This is the time that we need your support. Last day of the drive, take a couple moments to support this essential service. 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org.
Trusted news outlets are more crucial than ever. NPR and GBH stand as beacons of truth and reliability. But to continue providing accurate and unbiased news, we do need your financial support. So right now, the goal is to receive 23 contributions in the next about 42 minutes. Your financial support helps combat misinformation and keeps our community and our country well informed. Again, that is 23 contributions now in the next 42 minutes. I know we can get there with your support, gbhnews.org, or when you call 888-897-9424.
And listening to GBH, it entertains you. It helps you learn new things about Boston, our country, and our world. Right now, we're asking you to join GBH by giving what you can. Your gift ensures that you'll always have access to all that GBH has to offer. Your financial commitment directly supports all of your listening and your listening experience. It's going to be even more meaningful because you're part of the community that's supporting this rich and vital public service. It's going to feel good when you start becoming one of those listeners who's a contributor. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
Here's another reminder of this special last day offer. We have the GBH beach towel and dry bag as a combo for $12.50 a month or $150 all at once before 7 p.m. That deadline is coming up, so get this combo now. And get this, not only will you receive the combo, you'll also receive access to thousands of hours of PBS shows on PBS Passport. That's Masterpiece, The French Chef, Rick Steves, all of your favorites. You can go down a rabbit hole. It's a great experience. You can get this all when you go to gbhnews.org or when you call 888-897-9424.
And don't forget that we have a goal we need to meet by 3 o'clock. We need 23 contributions in the next 40 minutes. It's the last day of the drive, so every single contribution really counts right now. Please help GBH and NPR continue to bring you the coverage that matters to you, the trustworthy news that you rely on. Giving now ensures that quality journalism prevails over disinformation. Make your contribution right now. We've got a goal we need to hit, 23 contributions by 3 o'clock. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
I'm Henry Santoro in for Jared Bowen this Wednesday. This is The Culture Show, live on 89.7 from our studio here at the Boston Public Library and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel. If you are just tuning in, we're speaking with Sam Smallidge, the archive manager at Converse. He's the man behind the shoes, the ads, the prototypes, and the oddball finds that tell the story of a sneaker that has always been on the move. And Sam, you have this Chuck Taylor here from the 1950s that you brought with you. If I look at this Chuck Taylor and I look at a Chuck Taylor from 2024, 2025, it's the same shoe. Am I right?
Yeah,
it's
the
same exact. It's. I mean, the design is almost identical.
The design is almost identical. I mean, subtle. Really kind of subtle things have changed, like the position of, say, like these ventilation grommets that are on the side of it have changed subtly over the years. But that's really when you spend eight plus hours a day staring at the shoe, you start to notice little details like that change over time. But I mean, to me, that's what kind of makes it so special, is that it's this kind of unchanging thing that can tell a story so easily.
And when we were in the pledge break, you told me why you brought this particular version of the Chuck Taylor.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the first things I encountered in my job when I started was this photograph of some Boston Celtics players that was actually a reprint of a photograph that's in the Boston Public Library collection from a photographer named Leslie Jones. And these Celtics players kind of are leaning in, listening to their coach, Red
Auerbach
on the bench, and they very prominently have their feet placed. And as, someone who's tuned in to spot a Chuck in any photograph in any situation, it was, you immediately zoom in and you're like, okay, what ankle patch are they wearing? Where are the grommets placed? Like all those little details and stuff. And so, I thought like it'd be special, because that's a connection I have between that shoe and this building. So
what are your day-to-day duties at the archives?
I mean, it varies. I mean, I do everything from work with designers on like, hey, show me every variation on every ankle patch we've done, not just on Chucks, but other canvas basketball shoes we've done, to working with collaborators on projects they might want to do and who's being brought in when, and, this person really wants to dig into like 90s basketball shoes. Can you pull out 10 90s basketball shoes to look at? So, and then it will be stuff like this where they're like, hey, can you go talk to Henry Santoro at the Boston Public Library about old shoes for a while? So, yeah, it really runs the gamut. So
I have been saying for years that nobody has just one tattoo. Is it safe to say that nobody has just one pair of Chucks?
I mean, I think that...
How many do you have?
I have a lot now. But yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those special things for people that becomes very like personalized in terms of like I always generally wear black high tops. I immediately rip the white laces out. I put black laces in. It's like little details like that people always customize them. The number of people, like, I'll go to like a National Archives conference or somewhere like outside of the footwear industry, and it's like someone will come up to me who's like an archivist at some random repository in the Midwest, and they're like, I only wear Chucks to work. And they're like, show me pictures of their entire closet. So it's like, there are certainly, a lot of people out there who are devoted to the Chucks for sure.
And I have one friend who is, and this guy is a former colleague, is a really good friend. His name is Kurt St. Thomas. He was the program director at WFNX, my old radio station. He's a writer, he's a filmmaker, he's a musician. He only wears Chucks. He told me this morning that he has 15 pair. And he also said that he has a monogram pair that say vegan on the side. Are Chucks vegan?
That's a good question.
He swears they are.
I mean, honestly, I can't 100. I'm looking at my communications person.
Well, there's rubber, there's cloth, there's metal, there's no leather or anything that.
Yeah, I mean, unless it's like explicitly a leather version,
right?
Yeah.
We mentioned that the Converse archives are located in Charlestown. Why there?
It's about a mile up the road, and I think when we were moving into the city, they wanted to give our archives plenty of room to grow and expand into. So, moving it into our, corporate headquarters would kind of potentially shoehorn it and make it compete with, a growing company. So I think putting it at an offsite location gave it space to kind of grow and expand. And it's honestly very accessible. It's only about a mile up the road. So
how big is the space?
It's about 3,000 to 5,000 square feet. So, and it's all HVAC controlled, climate controlled, tinted windows, security, lockdown, Fort Knox style. So,
are there plans to digitize the archives?
Yeah, and I mean, like we were talking about with staffing levels, it's a mighty staff of one. So, we kind of digitize ad hoc. Like if someone requests an ad, we'll scan that in as needed in that moment. So, but yeah, we've, and slowly over the last 15 years, we've done batches of like product catalogs and advertisements and basketball yearbooks and stuff like that. So,
and as you said earlier, you actually work with designers as well.
Yeah, for sure. And so it's a lot of like, hey, can you send me this folder of all, Chucks from this decade and like which colors, and keeping a spreadsheet of every color that it's ever been in and stuff like that is a pretty extensive spreadsheet.
Do you know how many colors?
I can't recall exactly right now, but it's well over 500 colorways. So, But I mean, and a lot of those are like, kind of like
my jaw just dropped.
Yeah, a lot of those are like it will be green and then pearl green, or or like subtle variations on color naming. But yeah, it's well over 500 colors.
I have been to weddings where everyone in the bridal party and everyone in the groom's party wore Chucks. I bet you see that quite a bit.
Oh yeah,
it's very common. Tuxedos with Chucks.
No, yeah,
Tux and Chucks.
For sure. And, and I think Converse very early on, and even like the 90s, started coming out with patent leather versions of Chucks to kind of capitalize on a lot of that stuff. And, and I think we've been, as a brand, like very responsive to like culture and like, as it moved from being a basketball shoe into more of a skate shoe, like, hey, skaters are into like prints and patterns and like camouflage or like, animal prints in the late 80s. So it's always kind of, as a brand, responding to where the people who are wearing Chucks are kind of taking us. So
Sam Smallage is the archive manager at Converse. The company's archive is in Charlestown. He oversees more than a century of shoes, the ads, all the prototypes and catalogs and company history. Sam, this has been fascinating. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you, Henry.
And thank you for listening all those years.
Oh, yes.
I'm Henry Santoro. This is The Culture Show. Stick around. We've got, coming up, we've got a preview of New England Conservatory's Concert for the City, a family-friendly, free event for all at the Hatch Shell happening this Saturday. That's next on The Culture Show. Stick around.
The Culture Show today was made possible by our listener contributors. That's how GBH works. The money you give keeps The Culture Show on the radio. Please sign up as a sustaining member during this membership drive. Listening to The Culture Show doesn't cost you anything, but pulling this show together every weekday afternoon, that takes work. So why not lend a hand with a contribution in any amount at 888-897-9424 or give online at gbhnews.org.
Thank you to everybody who's already given during our spring membership drive. If you have yet to give, it's almost over, but there's still time. Make your contribution to GBH and help pay for your future GBH listening. It's really easy to give online at gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424. I'm Craig Lamolton. I'm joined now by Sam Derringer and Phil Jones.
And to stay on track right now, we need 20 more people to give in the next about 30 minutes. And GBH and NPR play a vital role in delivering trustworthy news that you can rely on. And by giving right now, you help ensure that quality journalism prevails over disinformation. So important. Please make your contribution now. We're just looking for 20 people in the next 30 minutes. That can be you when you go to gbhnews.org or when you call 888-897-9424.
And if you can support GBH by giving $12.50 a month, we are going to thank you with two popular gifts. We've got the waterproof GBH dry bag and our beach towel. It's a special last day offer, putting the two of them together. We got a nice microfiber towel. It packs small and light, and it's got a great message on it. Great news travels. Featured under the beautiful artwork of the Longfellow Bridge alongside the 89.7 logo. You are going to want to be on the sand with this towel this summer and showing off that you are a supporter of trusted local news. Comes with the GBH waterproof dry bag. You got a great summer package. It has a buckle closure, doubles as a handle to keep your gear safe and dry from the elements. Become a sustaining member, $12.50 a month, and ask for the special offer, GBH beach towel and the dry bag. The deadline for that is 7 o'clock tonight when the drive is over. So give online right now at gbhnews.org or call 888-897-9424.
GBH is your source for stories and conversations that bring order to the chaos of the daily news. We're here for you every day to sort through the facts and falsehoods and to deliver insights and help you understand and cope during difficult times. We can do that only because of listener support, and we're asking for yours now. Please sign up as a new member at $5 or $10 a month. And if you're a current member and you have the means, please consider giving a little more. Your financial support is essential to our work, so important. You can do this easily. gbhnews.org. Pick up the phone, 888-897-9424.
And you might notice that GBH is different from some other news sources, and that's part of because of the fact we have a different funding model. We're a nonprofit, public radio station. You can spot the difference because of the high quality of what you hear every day. You can tell because of the stories and the perspectives about our region and the world. And you can also tell because you're listening to a membership drive. This is how we raise the money to make it happen. We ask you now to support GBH, the station that makes such a difference in your life. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
The membership drive is almost over. It ends this evening, and you've probably been meaning to make your contribution, but just haven't gotten around to it. Well, time is running out to support this important source for news. It takes just 2 minutes to give, and when you do, you'll know you've done your part to keep NPR and GBH on the radio in Boston. It has never been more important. We're looking for 20 more people. All gifts are welcome. gbhnews.org. When you call 888-897-9424.
Rainy day like today, you're going to want to be planning some of your summer getaways. How about a pack of 4 tickets to Tanglewood for their annual tribute to John Williams? If you support GBH, you're going to be entered to win a pack of 4 tickets for seats inside the shed out at Tanglewood, some of the best seats in the house. You get to be inside, protected from the elements, but they also have this cool thing, if you've never been out to Tanglewood, where you're basically experiencing the atmosphere. You're outside, the walls are open, filling the Berkshires. It's out of this world. Keith Lockhart will be conducting the Boston Pops, an evening full of the music of John Williams. You know, it's Star Wars, Jaws, Close Encounters, all that good stuff. Everybody who donates to GBH right now is entered to win that 4-pack of tickets to Tanglewood for John Williams night. You don't have to give to be entered, but we hope that you will. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
And not only that, how about we think about the summer some more? GBH Beach Towel, GBH Dry Bag, we have a combo. You can get 2 in 1 for $12.50 a month or $150 all at once with that 7 p.m. deadline coming up. This is it. This is your chance to get it. They're super portable, super compact, a great, great gift to have heading into these summer months. So don't miss out. gbhnews.org or when you call 888-897-9424.
I'm Henry Santoro in for Jared Bowen, live on 89.7 FM, the Boston Public Library, and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel. You are listening to The Culture Show, and we're listening to Tchaikovsky's 1812 Overture, performed by the New England Conservatory Preparatory School's Youth Philharmonic Orchestra. The 1812 Overture is just one of the works the orchestra will perform this Saturday at Concert for the City at the Hatch Shell. The free concert begins at 4 p.m. and caps off the New England Conservatory Prep's 75th anniversary year, also joining the region's celebrations of the 250th anniversary of these great United States. Joining me to talk about it all are Giuliano Aniceto, Director of New England Conservatory's Prep Orchestras, and Andrea Kalin, President of New England Conservatory. Welcome to both of you. Thank you so much for coming back on The Culture Show.
Thank you for having us.
I grew up in the Boston area, made my career here, and if there's one thing that has stuck with me over the years, it's that Boston has always been a family-friendly city. And Saturday's concert at the Hatch Shell is just that. It's a family-friendly event. And Giuliano, you sum it up perfectly by calling this show and its concept as Giving Boston a Hug. Can you elaborate on that?
No, absolutely. So when the idea of this concert came up, the idea that we could musically embrace Boston and how to translate all the feelings that are associated with the hug, embracing, safety, care, touch, contact. This idea for us is so important because we only hug who we love. We only feel comfortable in a hug if we have a close connection, and that's what we want to portray to Boston and to give to Boston, a big musical hug. Of course, we have the statue of the embrace, and so musically we are translating these feelings, these concepts all into music.
And you're relatively new to Boston. How do you like it here?
I love here. I absolutely love Boston. I grew up in a big city, and I love how culturally diverse this city is. And being from a culturally diverse background as I am, I think it's fantastic that we have a city that can speak so many languages, that can come from so many different places, and our music also reflects this nature.
You call this orchestra a musical portrait of Boston. Who are the players and where do they come from?
Players come all over the Boston area, and some of them come from far away to experience the Youth Philharmonic Orchestra daily, or on Saturdays when you have the rehearsal. So we have students who are so inspired and encouraged to participate in this program that we have here in the heart of Boston, that they travel hours to be here. But most of our students are from here, from the colleges, from these high schools around us, and they're doing very well. I feel very privileged to lead them.
In all the different neighborhoods as well.
Oh, 100%.
Andrea, the story of the New England Conservatory is one that is absolutely astounding. It goes back to its creation right after the Civil War. My colleagues at 99.5 WCRB, our classical radio station, say that Jordan Hall is on par with the great concert halls of the world, like those in Vienna, Austria, for example. What is it about Jordan Hall that elevates it to that level?
Oh, well, that's the magic of acoustics and space. But I would say really, one of the things that makes Jordan Hall so magical is just all the sound, the legacy and years of sound and performers.
If those walls could talk.
If they could talk, but they do. They sing at all of us. And for our prep students, as well as our college students, to be able to perform on that stage, knowing all of the amazing people who have performed before them, and to feel that coming through the floors and in the fiber, and to contribute to that themselves, that is tremendously exciting. And even better, the chance for them to take that feeling and that sort of quality of work that they do together in Jordan Hall and bring it out into the stage of the city is a really tremendous thing, because that's what we want them to do, is to take it outside of Jordan Hall.
Right. Every day that I walk into GBH, and I've been there now just over 11 years, every day that I walk into GBH, I feel the creativity that was there before I arrived, that is there now, and you know that it's going to keep continuing. Is that what you feel at the New England Conservatory?
Absolutely. I would say two things. There's deep creativity, and at NEC, something that's particularly core to the ethos of the school, and you feel in Jordan Hall, is a sense of community. Jordan Hall is a very intimate space, as well as being a very musically beautiful space. And so those two things, complete creativity and human connection that comes from that, both on the stage and across the stage.
It's also on the map of the National Historic Landmarks, making the conservatory the only music school to have a National Landmarks plaque.
We are indeed, yes, very special, and we also have, Giuliano talked about the embrace and the connection there, and of course we have a little bit of extra resonance there as well, in that Coretta Scott King was an alum, and Coretta and Martin Luther King met each other on the steps of Jordan Hall, so there's a super connection there as well. So that alone puts it on the register, I think.
And you yourself add a historic element to the school as well. You are the school's 17th president.
Yes.
You know where I'm going.
Yes.
And you are the first female president of the New England Conservatory. How often do you pinch yourself for having such a great job surrounded by just a plethora of amazing talent and history?
Oh yes, on a daily basis. At the end of the semester, sometimes a little tired, but yes, on a daily basis. No, it's a tremendous school with an incredible legacy, and that includes all of it, not the college and prep, and just the whole value and mission of NEC, the history of it, and of course it's the people, just extraordinary musicians and teachers. Giuliano is a great example of that. Really getting.
Where did you find him?
Oh, through a lovely search. He came to us. He came to us very well recommended, I will say, and we have been thrilled to have him join our community.
You oversee all of the inner workings of the New England Conservatory. How are things? We're in these tough times, and have any of it affected what you do and what the school does?
Sure, it affects everybody, but we stay very true to our mission. And actually, Edmond Tourget, our founder, as you pointed out, founded the school in 1867, right after the Civil War, and he believed that music could heal a troubled nation. And so there's resonance in that.
Happen,
there's resonance in that. So, the sense of we have both students of all ages and faculty and staff who are very committed, believe in what music and musicians can bring to the world, and we know that our students of all ages can really make a difference in the world, and we want to empower them to do that at the highest level. They obviously need to develop their artistry at the highest level, but we want them to share that broadly. And so again, the Saturday is an example for us to show what we do is not precious. It lives for people and in a city and in a community, and really performance is about sharing. It's the ultimate act of sharing.
And it is that family event, and
it's completely
concert for the city.
Absolutely.
What else will be on tap at the Hat Shell when that happens?
Many things. Would you like to talk about that?
So we have wonderful activities happening alongside with this concert. So the concert per se, of course, is the main activity, but we're going to have families for activities for children before. We're going to have sing-alongs with the audience, and truly means bringing the audience to the center of the spectacle. Truly means getting the audience to participate in the creation of these events and in the performance. So we are very excited with artists of all sorts before, especially dedicated. We have face painters, we have caricature, we have many things to make this event very special for all ages, not only for the children or teenager or adults for a long time, but for everyone to enjoy together this experience.
And the weather is going to be spectacular on Saturday.
Yes. Giuliano has made that happen, yes. He's conducted it all.
I mean, we got a little rain coming in tomorrow, a little rain on Friday, but Saturday it's going to move on out, and it's going to be upwards of 80 degrees, I'm told. So a absolutely perfect day for the crowds to get out, the families to come out. Now, the school's early home at the St. James Hotel from 1882 to 1902 was seen by millions of people on TV. Are you aware of this?
No, I'm not. Do tell.
It was later used for the exterior shots of St. Eligius Hospital in the long-running TV show St. Elsewhere.
I had no idea.
How is that for a piece of Boston
I'm
trivia?
Taking that away. That's really, I'm using
but
that.
But
That's great.
they used the facade of the building for the opening credits of St. Elsewhere.
They have a new claim to fame.
Who
That's
knew?
Excellent, right?
Who knew? Notable alumni, as you said, include Coretta Scott King, who met her husband there on the steps. Rose Kennedy, another one. Jazz master Cecil Taylor, to name just a few. What amazes you about all this?
Oh, what amazes me! That I think it's the impact that music can have that continues to amaze me. Whether they're great people who go, all of our students who go through and they go on to great lives and they have incredibly diverse and rich lives, but the thread that binds them all together is this deep love of something that's innate in them that they again want to share more broadly. And so that to me is very humbling. It's one of my earliest memories is wanting to play the piano. No idea why, just wanted to do that, and music lit up my life. And to see children and their parents and adults who may come back to it later, as well as our college students who did this at the highest levels as well, come together through this common thing that is core to humanity and do it to the best that they can do, and see their imaginations and their lives and their sense of identity and their whole sense of community and well-being.
And many
magical.
of the musicians, some will go on to the BSO.
Oh, many of them go on to the BSO. I think it's about half of the folks at the BSO, and we have a great alliance now. One of the things that we're really excited about this fall, as we think about expanding opportunities for the city of Boston, is with our alliance with the BSO starting an honors children's chorus. And those children who are in that choir will have a chance to sing in the Pops concerts and do other
those
things.
Little
and
voices.
So that's a very cool thing.
Who is the commencement speaker this year?
That's Denise Graves, who is also an alumnus of the school.
Is she really?
She is. She's wonderful, and she is she has just retired from the Met. I had the privilege of hearing her
what a voice.
Sing Porgy and Bess at the Met in her last performance. She also sang at my inauguration, so it's very special for me. She was an Oberlin alum as well as an NEC alum. But yeah, she represents, again, artistry and humanity and community at the highest levels, and a great teacher as well.
And last year, you had a friend of mine as the commencement speaker,
Ah.
Mr. Chad Smith.
We did indeed. Yes.
Drummer for the Red Hot Chili
Oh,
Peppers.
no, not that one. It was a different Chad Smith.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
I thought it was the drummer for the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
No, I love our Chad Smith. I wish we had the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Maybe next year.
I was going to say, where did that come from?
Yeah, no, we didn't do that. But that's an aspiration. We'll try that next.
I could probably get them for you.
Okay, we'll hold you to that. Next year's date is open.
But you did have Paul Simon, too,
We
right?
did have Paul
You
Simon.
did have Paul Simon.
And James
okay.
Taylor and, many others. So.
Oh, my goodness. I've always said that music is love, and I think that you two here with me at the Boston Public Library are totally the personification of that.
Thank you.
So, Juliana, walk us through the musical program that will take place on Saturday.
Absolutely. So on Saturday we will open, of course, this concert celebrates the 250th anniversary of the United States, the 75th anniversary of NEC Prep. So we also this year celebrated 100 years of NEC's towering figure in Gunther Schuller. So we opened the concert with his orchestration of the national anthem. And after the national anthem, we have two amazing soloists, Sarah Cooper, which is an NEC alum, and we have Phil Lima, and we are doing a very beautiful suite of Porgy and Bess, this collection of songs of Porgy and Bess. After Porgy and Bess, it's this amazing piece that depicts the dream, the strength, and this is how we connect with the people that are in the audience. We see in Porgy and Bess, when I was planning this repertoire, something that I could see in the city from the podium. And I think this Porgy and Bess brings so much of this strength, the capacity of dreaming, the capacity of building a better life.
What is the age range of the orchestra?
Our oldest student is 18 years old.
18.
So it's a very, very young orchestra. It's a pre-college orchestra. So they're absolutely amazing, and they're so excited to perform this concert.
And they're playing Tchaikovsky. They're playing
Yes.
Porgy and Bess.
Beautifully, too. Beautifully.
Yes. After Porgy and Bess, we do a beautiful sing-along with We Shall Overcome, and we have Lift Every Voice and Sing. We sing with the audience that piece, and then we do Dvorak Symphony No. 9, music by immigrants, with these amazing kids playing their hearts out of the Dvorak, and then Stars and Stripes Forever, then 1812.
It's like a mini Pops.
It is, yeah.
It's like a short version of the.
Well, they're sitting down, so you won't know they're
short.
short.
You
can
can't
just
tell,
pretend.
right?
Yes.
Oh my goodness!
And I was thinking about this concert that go for play in